Dry until about 11 o'clock when light snow showers start to develop. KSL meteorologist Matt Johnson says the brunt of today's storm will hit later, right in the middle of the evening commute.
We're talking about 1 to 3 inches. Some spots could pick up more, but generally speaking, 1 to 3 for the valleys. And yes, we could be pushing a foot or more in our mountains.
The National Weather Service has issued a winter weather advisory from 11 this morning until 5 o'clock tonight. Today's high is only 34 degrees. That's the warmest we get, by the way, until Saturday. Avalanche danger is also expected to reach dangerous levels from the mountains of northern and central Utah, along with the Wasatch Range, Bear River Range, and Uinta Mountains. Officials advise backcountry travelers to stay off and out from underneath slopes steeper than 30 degrees. Now our top national story this hour from ABC News. Former President Donald Trump's immunity hearing is underway in Washington. His lawyer says he was still president before and during the events of January 6th, so he can't face charges. ABC News Chief Justice correspondent Pierre Thomas has more.
Trump has decided to witness the hearing in person and has clearly made his prosecutions part of his campaign. He portrays himself as being unfairly targeted and says that the many cases against him amount to election interference designed to hurt his campaign. And now the issue of time is the major factor. How quickly this case plays out will determine whether it actually happens before the November election.
President Trump was not required to attend, but he chose to. His fellow Republican candidates are in Iowa trying to gain support ahead of the caucuses. Your money at this moment, the markets have been in the red all morning long, still there. We're down almost 0.75% on the Dow, off by 269 points. The S&P this hour is down 21, that's 0.5%, and the NASDAQ is off by just 55, but that's after a gain of 2 full percent yesterday. Coming up, more snow to come. Not just today or tomorrow, but it looks like all the way through Sunday of this week. We'll check the forecast next. KSL News Time, 9:02.
We hope you have the right app on your phone for news. You probably have dozens.
But the KSL News Radio app, well, it makes our live stream super easy.
Plus, our talk shows are right there as podcast for your workday.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Jeff Kaplan here for my good friends at Advanced Window Products. Jake Weber and Nate Orchard are spreading the holiday cheer with their biggest sale of the year. If the wind whistles through your windows, if you want a fresh new look for your number one investment, your home, call Advanced Window Products and take advantage of this incredible end-of-year sale. Replace all of your windows and frames, and you get $2,500 off. But that's not all. You get a free premium glass upgrade. Insulate your home against the cold with double-pane windows and stylish frames, any style, any color, and they're built custom right here at their headquarters in Salt Lake City for 37 years. They build the windows, they install the windows, and they guarantee them for life. Plus, an additional $2,500 off and a free premium glass upgrade. You can save now, pay later, so take advantage. Call now, Advanced Window Products, 801-850-9100, 801-850-9100, or visit AdvancedWindowsUSA.com.
It's that time of year. Time for the amazing Utah Auto Expo. Friday, January 12th through Monday the 15th at the Mountain America Exposition Center. This is your chance to see the newest cars, trucks, and electric vehicles all at one location. Check out the latest automotive technology on display. Lots to do for the whole family, and parking is always free. It's the Utah Auto Expo. The 12th through the 15th, Mountain America Exposition Center. Go to AutoExpoUtah.com for discounts. Proudly presented by the New Car Dealers of Utah.
When you hire your local CertaPro painters, you get
the power of a cut above.
Decades of expertise to transform your home. From so-so to virtuoso.
The power of neighborhood painters.
We live where you live and probably like the same pizza place you do. Put
the power of pro
to work for you today. Get your project started at CertaPro.com.
Each CertaPro painter's business is independently owned and operated.
Denise has been playing jazz for 40 years. Last concert, one of the musicians fell sick with RSV. Respiratory syncytial virus, or RSV, is a highly contagious virus that can lead to breathing problems. This time, she's choosing to help protect herself with Pfizer's RSV vaccine, Abrysvo. Abrysvo is a vaccine for the prevention of lower respiratory tract disease caused by respiratory syncytial virus, RSV, in adults 60 years of age and older. Abrysvo is not for everyone and may not protect all who receive the vaccine. Don't get Abrysvo if you've had a severe allergic reaction to its ingredients. People with a weakened immune system may have a decreased response to Abrysvo. The most common side effects are tiredness, headache, pain at the injection site, and muscle pain. Ask your pharmacist or doctor about Pfizer's RSV vaccine, Abrysvo, respiratory syncytial virus vaccine. For full prescribing information, please call 1-844-989-7284 or visit abrysvo.com. Brought to you by Pfizer.
Traffic and weather together, again brought to you by Sinclair. Save up to 20 cents with Dino Pay. How are we looking, Andy?
We're actually looking good on the main corridor of I-15. We're now delay-free from Spanish Fork through Utah County to Point of the Mountain, Draper through Salt Lake City in the Salt Lake Valley, and no southbound problems between Ogden and Salt Lake. Foothill, though, still busy. Extra couple of minutes as you go up and just as you come off 215 at the mouth of Parley's, and seeing some pretty busy traffic going south on Mountain View through West Valley right now, so that might take you just a little bit longer. It's 2024, time to get zero resified with Zero Res. This month, get one room of carpet cleaned starting at $25 per room with promo code 25RM. Book today at zerores.com/Salt Lake. I'm Andy Farnsworth in the KSL Traffic Center.
A winter weather advisory in place until Thursday, and Park City's finally going to be in the midst of some of this. They kind of got missed by the last two storms, but there is a advisory out for the Wasatch Back. Also, the Ogden Valley can get more than 10 inches of snow over the week. Tomorrow will be cold much of the day, just like today. Highs in the 30s, lows in the 20s, and right now in Salt Lake City, we're right in the middle of that, 25 degrees. From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, I'm Tim Hughes. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
The appetizer to today's big snowstorm starts at about noon. So right during your lunch hour, you're going to get a little fried calamari. And then later on in this afternoon's community, that's when the squalls come in, when the biggies start happening, Dave, when we serve up the main course. So we're going to get the latest in just a moment on the snowstorm.
First of all, it's not calamari. It's bacon-wrapped shrimp. Everyone knows that. I mean, everyone knows that, Debbie. Yeah, but we're excited for it. Finally see a little of the white stuff on the ground. More to come. It's 9:07. It's time for the launch.
Sequence engaged.
And here are three things Debbie wants you to know.
Countdown. 3.
Bacon-wrapped shrimp. Ooh. Let me take you inside the cereal aisle instead. Let's go to the cereal aisle at your local grocery store. You got an overwhelming number of choices, right? You don't even know which one to pick. You can't even read all the labels. There's just too much information. Well, that's about what's happening for the race for U.S. Senate and U.S. House seats in Utah. 32 Utahns who want voters to send them back to D.C. to either serve in the Senate or the House to represent the state. Let's start with the Senate. We've got a dozen candidates, 8 of them Republicans, competing for Senator Romney's seat.
At the end of another term, I'd be in my mid-80s. Frankly, it's time for a new generation of leaders.
So who's the frosted mini-wheats of the group? Who's the number one? That's what I want to know. And are we seeing a little bit of a domino effect? I mean, Romney says he's not running. So Curtis says, well, I'm going to run for Romney's spot. And then our state auditor says, well, I'm going to run for John Curtis's spot. It's just like everybody's leaving their position. Former House Speaker Brad Wilson, he's like, I'm out of my job too. I'm going to run. All these dominoes are falling. Can Utahns finally figure out who they finally want to choose?
Countdown. 2.
The Wise Words of the Day award goes to Utah Governor Spencer Cox, saying, if we want to see income grow, we should probably tax it, yes. Can we give him a standing ovation? How about getting rid of the state income tax? I am all in. Utah, You have me for life if we do away with the state income tax. I'm staying until I'm 100 years old and they put me in the grave. 9:35. We're going to find out, is this really realistic to ditch the state's income tax? And then how does one make up for it if it goes away?
Now every educator in Utah has a fight with Debbie Dujanovic because basically all of our state income tax goes directly to schools, goes to education. So is it realistic? Is it possible? Well, there certainly is an appetite from the party, the supermajority, all the Republicans. If they want to make it happen, they could make it happen. Maybe? Oh, wait, yeah, there's a little state constitution problem to this.
Launch countdown 1.
Our top story is top of mind for you. When are those snow squalls moving in this afternoon? In 1 minute, we're going to get the timeline and when and where these squalls are going to hit. I didn't exactly know what a snow squall is. I think I know what they are. But just in case, I went down the rabbit hole of YouTube this morning.
Most dangerous winter weather conditions, the snow squall. Snow squalls are brief but intense periods of snow. Snow squalls bring a quick reduction in visibility in whiteout conditions because usually these come with very gusty winds.
Yep, never heard of a snow squall. Have no idea what you're talking about. That little 14-second explanation, it helps. But let's bring in the professionals to really break it down for us.
Dave and Dujanovic.
The Launch.
Commence.
Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top local story.
And as we do every time there's a big weather event on the horizon, we turn to our KSL meteorologist here at Broadcast House. And in a second or two, Matt Johnson in studio with the snow squall timeline, Dave.
Okay, so snow, good. Squall, again, don't know what that means. I've already forgotten what that little explanation is. Matt Johnson's joining us right now. Matt, what is a squall and when does it hit?
Yeah, I mean, that was a pretty good definition, just a brief punch of heavy snow. Yeah, I like to say, you know how thunderstorms are isolated pockets of heavy rain for a brief amount of time?
Okay.
It's kind of the same deal with a snowstorm, but what makes it a little more dangerous is these snow showers that are heavy is that they'll reduce your visibility down to about 1/10 to 1/4 of a mile, and they'll be scattered, and there may end up being a squall line, right? Basically just frontal boundary with the cold front this evening that could bring some heavy snow briefly.
The appetizer starts at noon during the lunch hour.
Right.
So walk us through the timeline this afternoon for and where these will hit.
So out ahead of the cold front, there's enough instability to produce, some light snow showers, and some of us may not even see them. That'll be around 11 to the noon hour, maybe even 1 o'clock. Behind that then comes the cold front, which should be sometime this afternoon and evening. I'd say between the hours of 4 and 6 o'clock, depending on where you live along the Wasatch Front. And I've been saying that it will likely impact the evening commute. So that could really throw in some problems for commuters just because you've already got enough cars on the road, a lot of cars on the road, and then you're going to complicate things with low visibility, pockets of snow, maybe even accumulating snow on the roadway.
Between Provo, Salt Lake, Ogden, who's going to get the brunt of this storm?
I think that's a great question.
We're going to see a little bit of everything.
Yeah, a little bit for everybody. But with these events, when the storm comes in from the northwest, it's almost always north of Salt Lake that gets hit hardest, simply because there's no mountains to the west of them, so they don't get any shadowing from the mountaintops. Nothing messes with the dynamics of the cold front. However, Salt Lake Valley, you get mountains. Tooele Valley, there's mountains to the west. And, of course, Provo and Utah Valley have mountains to the west that could break things up.
Matt, looking at the radar, where do you anticipate these snow squalls will hit hardest and heaviest? Any ideas right now?
After explaining that with the topography, I'd probably say Davis, Weber counties, maybe even Box Elder through Brigham City. But we'll likely see snow and snow squalls still possible through Salt Lake and Utah Valleys. But my experience has been those mountains can sometimes break up the organization of these snow showers. Still possible, but I lean towards north of Salt Lake.
Matt Johnson, thank you, meteorologist with KSL 5 Television. Thanks, Matt.
And we'll check back in with the weather department later in the show today as these snowstorms and snow squalls head toward Utah. Straight ahead, who's going back to D.C.? There are 32 Utahns who want to go back to D.C. to either serve in the Senate or serve in the House to represent voters in Utah. In the Senate alone, we've got a dozen candidates going for Senator Mitt Romney's seat. Remember, he decided not to run again?
At the end of another term, I'd be in my mid-80s. Frankly, it's time for a new generation of leaders.
So, 32 people want either a Senate or a House seat. Is it like the cereal aisle, Dave, at your local grocery store? Too much of a good thing can be a little bit overwhelming.
I think that's exactly what it is.
Dave and Dujanovic.
A lot of us are filling our workdays with podcasts.
When you're working, go to KSLNewsRadio.com.
Click on Dave and Debbie's podcast and pick a topic and story length.
Podcast with Dave and Debbie. Then get to work with KSL News Radio.
We asked for it.
We need a healthy snowpack to fill our reservoirs.
Now we're getting it.
The plows have gone through here, but it is definitely still slick.
Emergency traffic.
Icy conditions on the road, even with the plows throwing down some salt.
Well over a foot of snow for the Wasatch Front total.
Now that we're finally seeing snow in the valleys, you should know KSL is ready. Get updates with traffic and weather together every 10 minutes on the 9s and emergency traffic at a moment's notice.
We have you covered at KSL News Radio.
The snow and the cold are here, and there's more to come. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and if you haven't gotten your furnace tuned up yet, I'm about to save you some money. Normally, we charge $124 to tune up your furnace, but if you call today, Tuesday, January 9th, and mention you heard this ad, we'll give you $95 off and tune up your furnace for only $29. Call Any Hour Services right now to schedule, 801-443-7400. Manufacturers recommend annual maintenance to ensure safe operation, maximize efficiency, and help your furnace last for as many years as possible. 801-443-7400. If it's more convenient, go to anyhourservices.com and look for the red button that says Book Online. Schedule your $29 tune-up there. To lock in your $95 savings, all you need to do is get a hold of Any Hour Services today. That's a $124 value for only $29. If you call Any Hour Services today. 801-443-7400. Google Any Hour Services or schedule online at anyhourservices.com.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
Do you ever feel like getting your supplies for your CPAP is just a huge headache? Hi, I'm Jay Broadbent with Alpine Home Medical. We'll say goodbye to the hassle and hello to a stress-free life with our CPAP resupply service. Signing up is a breeze. Just place a call, choose your products, and leave the insurance billing and shipping to us. Our discreet packaging prioritizes your privacy, and we always ensure an on-time delivery. No more trips to the store or worrying about running out of important supplies. We get how crucial your CPAP therapy is, so don't let the stress of keeping up with it affect your sleep and health. Join Alpine Resupply today and enjoy a tranquil night's sleep with all your CPAP essentials. Visit us at alpinehomemedical.com.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
That's alpinehomemedical.com.
God, I'm so stressed. It's a brand new year and our business is busier than ever.
Uma.
What is that? Meditation?
I'm recommending the Uma cloud phone system with auto attendant and more than 35 features.
Uma?
Yep. Switching to Uma is a cinch. Starts at $19.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Uma.
Now you're feeling it. Visit Uma.com. That's OOMA.com to learn more. Uma. Smart communications for the smarter business.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma.
At age 30, Carissa finished her high school diploma.
If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, you can do it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors, and I'm proud to tell you we don't lay off employees when things get tough. During the pandemic, we didn't let one of our installers go. Instead, we had them clean and remodel our offices so they could still get paid. Remember the 2008 housing crisis? It was a financial nightmare for even the biggest contractors. Still, we didn't lay off a single worker. Nope, We sacrifice profits to keep paying everyone. Look, when the economy's down, most contractors are quick to lay off their workers. It's the easiest way to save money when times get tight. But at RGS Exteriors, we're loyal to our people. You know why? Because it's the right thing to do. People first. People always. That's the RGS way. For gutters, siding, windows, and more, call RGS Exteriors at 801-280-3110 or visit rgsexteriors.com. That's rgsexteriors.com, 801-280-3110.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Tim Hughes. First, you can expect snow squalls over the week as we continue to get snow, some areas getting up to 18 inches. Second, former President Donald Trump is in Washington, where his attorneys are arguing he has presidential immunity against the charges related to the January 6th riot. And third, the Iron County Search and Rescue Team was called to help two people after their car got stuck in a snowdrift on State Road 143. Officials are reminding drivers to make sure you keep emergency equipment in your cars. We'll look for a high today, lower 30s, 34 degrees, and right now it's 25 in Salt Lake City. Back to David Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. Your voice, your vote 2024. Special coverage on KSL News Radio.
Boy, when U.S. Senator Mitt Romney decided not to run for a second term in the Senate, it sure set off a flurry of activity.
At the end of another term, I'd be in my mid-80s. Frankly, it's time for a new generation of leaders.
There are now 12 candidates looking to replace Romney in the Senate.
And that's just the tip of the iceberg. There are 34 candidates that are running for 5 federal offices. 4 in the House, 1 Senate spot. That's way too many, of course. Like, as a voter, I could never look into 34. We're going to have to narrow that down a little bit. But I wonder how many of these candidates genuinely believe that they have a shot at winning. But I'll say this. I had never heard of Celeste Malloy before she decided to run. And she won in a landslide in November and now represents the 2nd District.
So we now know who's going to run between the House and the Senate. And it's only, first week of January 9th. We already know who all the candidates are. Because in the past, this usually didn't happen until like springtime.
Yeah.
Things got changed a little bit with the new law that passed in 2022, so a couple years ago, requiring that candidates make their decision on whether they're going to run in early January. Dave said 34 candidates. I miscounted earlier. See, I can't do math even when there's a list in front of me. I counted 32.
That was a printing error.
Yeah,
you are totally innocent. According to your poorly printed information.
I think a couple of
it
names
cut off a couple names.
Slid off the side under the printer.
That is a printer error. That is not a Debbie error.
34 candidates running for 5 federal offices. 20 candidates running for 5 state offices. Okay, we're going to talk about the state. We're going to set the state offices in a little bubble. We're going to let it go for now. We're going to come back to those later. Let's focus on the Senate, Dave.
Okay, so John Curtis, that's kind of the big name. And I think the fact that he kind of added his name late is a little bit of a curveball to all the other candidates. I don't think they were planning on him running, but he decided kind of at the last minute, quite frankly, to throw his hat into the ring.
We spoke to him last week. He stopped by right after he filed.
This seat should be earned. Nobody just walks into this seat, and nobody should be surprised that the quality of candidates jumping into this race, and we're not done, right? More people are going to jump into this race, is very high. Because this is a contested seat, and it should be, and the state deserves a race with the best people in the state running, making their case why they should be elected.
And there is a dozen people that is running for this seat. Now, the reason I think Curtis is the front runner because he has a track record. He's won 3 federal elections in landslides. He's won by 35 points, 42 points, 40 points. So I think it's very natural to say, he is definitely the front runner.
But House Speaker Brad Wilson has a head start.
Yes.
Former House Speaker Brad Wilson resigns his seat in the House, been there for like 12 years. resigns his seat, says I'm going to go all in on the U.S. Senate seat after Senator Mitt Romney made the announcement. Brad's official resignation date was like mid-November, but he'd already formulated, a committee to explore the possibility way back in the spring. He also has high name recognition. He also has funding. And I think he's going to give John Curtis a run for his money.
Income tax cuts for everyone. We're helping lower income folks with an earned income tax credit.
I want the people of Utah to know that you will see historic tax cuts this session.
Close to $800 million, and that's remarkable.
And he's probably going to run on that record.
Yeah, he's spoken about it. He's pushed for it for years. Tax cut, tax cut, tax cut. And I think over the last 3 years, we're at over $1 billion in tax cuts in the state.
Yeah, 1.2 almost. $1.2 billion in tax cuts. And then we have Riverton Mayor Trent Staggs. Talked to him quite a bit on the show. He's had several rallies. Trump Organization, folks from that organization, Arizona Senate candidate Carrie Lake. I think she came to Utah to support him. In fact, we're going to talk to him tomorrow. And other candidates, too. I mean, there's a total of 8 Republicans. So you got 8 Republicans in the race for Senate, for U.S. Senate. You've got 1 Democrat, Archie Williams.
2 Democrats.
2 Democrats.
Yep.
I'm sorry. Caroline, I missed your name. Oof. Caroline Gleik. We'll be speaking to several of these candidates throughout the next several months. And then 2 independent American candidates. So the field of Republican candidates for U.S. Senate reminds me a lot of the cereal aisle at the grocery store. So many choices. And I've been making a reference and analogy to that throughout the morning. When I was with Tim and Amanda, I brought that up. You walk into the cereal aisle and you're just like, oh my gosh, which one do I pick? And do I go with the generic or do I say, I think this signals in the field of 8 that Republicans are still having a really tough time unifying and making a decision behind the scenes on 1 or 2, 3, maybe 4, but 8. And it's these elections are expensive. They're expensive.
Yeah, millions of dollars if you end up kind of getting down the line. Now, obviously, 12 of these candidates are not going to get, all the way down the line, probably to the primary where they're spending millions of dollars. That's just way too many people. But I think your cereal aisle analogy is kind of interesting because it's very easy to just go to the name brands, the names that we know, the ones that have high name recognition. But I'll tell you, I used to eat Fruit Loops. Now I go with the generic Rudy Tooties because they're outstanding. They taste exactly like Fruit Loops, but they're a lot cheaper. So is there a candidate out there that we may not know, may not have the name recognition, that's just as good, maybe even a little better at a better price?
Who's that Rudy Tootie candidate?
Who's the Rudy Tootie candidate?
Let's go over the House District 3. Oh, we've got a long list here. Let's try to get through as much as we can. John Curtis can't run for both the House and the Senate, so he gives up his seat in the 3rd District, serving in the House, to go ahead and run for Senate. So then that starts this domino, right? State Auditor John Dougal announces he won't seek another term as state auditor, which, the guy's picking up tons and tons of votes every time he runs for state auditor. I think he could have probably served as state auditor the rest of his life if he wanted to. He was that popular, state auditor. He's like, no, I'm going to go for D.C. I want voters to send me back to D.C. So he won't seek re-election as the auditor, and instead he's going to run for House District 3.
Yeah, and we're going to speak to him at 10:50 today. But John Dougal, to your point, how popular he was, he has received more votes than any other politician in Utah history. He won the state auditorship with the most votes ever received in Utah.
He's made being state auditor super cool.
If
that many people are voting for you, I guess. Okay, let's go to the 2nd congressional district. Celeste Malloy is the incumbent, brand new back there. Talked to her lots on the show. Not being challenged by either Becky Edwards or Bruce Huff. They were both her competitors just a few months ago for that seat. Now it's 3 Republicans, a Democrat, and one member of the Constitution Party.
Yeah, I think it speaks to the power of being an incumbent.
Congressional District 1, Representative Blake Moore, 2 challengers from his party.
Yeah. That's not a big surprise. He's kind of a rising star in the Republican House.
But are you surprised 2 people are challenging him?
You're almost always going to have
party?
a challenger, 1 or 2,
Isn't
in a primary.
Isn't like that somebody within the family challenging you?
A little bit.
Right?
A little bit.
For the head seat at Thanksgiving dinner?
I think it was more surprising what happened in the 4th District, where Burgess Owens is not being challenged by anybody from the Republican Party. He's the only candidate, the only GOP candidate in CD4.
Should we tackle the state races? How about if we tackle the state races in the 10 o'clock hour?
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Tim Hughes. Let's take a quick look at some of our top stories for this half hour. We have some breaking news on KSL. The Salt Lake County Health Department just released a statement saying that 2 children in the county have died over the past 30 days after coming down with flu. These are the first confirmed flu-related deaths for anyone in the Salt Lake Valley under the age of 18 this winter. 3 people over the age of 50 have also died. None of the people who died received a flu vaccine, and County Health Department Director Angela Dunn says this is a reminder that influenza is a serious disease. Utah's Governor Spencer Cox says it's time to start talking about completely cutting out the state income tax. KSL News Radio's Adam Small has more.
State lawmakers were already looking to further reduce the income tax rate during this year's legislative session, but Governor Cox told the Deseret News, quote, "I would rather get rid of income tax altogether." Now, there are a few things that could get in the way of the governor's idea, at least this year. For one, ending income tax was not part of the governor's $29.5 billion budget proposal. Plus, the state actually had to dip into reserves at the end of the last fiscal year in June because they got less income tax than they were planning on. That's because lawmakers cut the state income tax rate by another 0.2% just last year. Adam Small, KSL News Radio.
For the first time, a tax credit will be available to parents of adopted children in Utah. The state passed the adoption tax credit bill last year, allowing Utahns to take a one-time credit up to $3,500 in the year that adoption was finalized. Lawmakers say this credit will help with the cost of adoption, making it more accessible. And our top national story this hour from ABC News, former President Donald Trump at a hearing this morning in Washington, D.C., where his attorneys argued that he has presidential immunity. ABC News legal contributor Kate Shaw says that one argument made by Trump's attorneys is that he wasn't convicted during his impeachment proceedings, so he cannot be prosecuted. Your money at this moment. Let's see how the markets are doing. We've been down all morning, and we're still there. The Dow is off 214 points. That's about 0.5%. The S&P now down 13, and the Nasdaq is off by just 19 points. That's after a gain of 2 full percent yesterday. Coming up, get ready for more snow. Matter of fact, just put it on repeat all the way through Sunday of this week. And cold. We'll check the forecast next. KSL News Time, 9:33.
It's a priority for us at this station to bring you all sides of a story and to talk about the news fairly, completely.
Get all the facts and be really aware. Utah's Morning News with us, Tim and Amanda.
Weekday mornings 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
I know when you look outside, we're all kind of grateful that we're seeing some snow. But one of the things that I dread when the wintertime comes around is I know I'm going to fight and battle dry skin. My family has battled dry skin for a very long time. And it wasn't until we called Connecticut of Utah to come out to our house and show us the difference that soft water can make. And I asked them, I said, will this help with our dry skin? And they said, you will be able to tell from the first bath, from the first shower that you take, when you have soft water in your system, you will feel it on your skin. And sure enough, that's exactly what it was. When we got soft water, we have loved it. We don't need to bathe in lotion afterwards. And that was the game changer. That was the biggest reason my wife and I decided to call Connecticut of Utah and have them install this amazing water softener. And it's so easy to use. All I have to do is throw a little salt in the bin every couple of months. It's so efficient. 2/3 less salt is used through the Connecticut system. So if you're interested in making that investment into your house, give Connecticut of Utah a call. 801-576-8600. That's 576-8600. They're an authorized Connecticut dealer. SoftwaterUtah.com is also a way you can find them online. That's SoftwaterUtah.com.
Paid for by GovMint.com. The 1878 to 1921 Morgan silver dollar, a true American classic and one of the most iconic silver dollar coins in history. It's been 100 years since the last Morgan silver dollar coin was struck for circulation, and now, for a limited time only, full pound bags of original U.S. government struck Morgan dollars are being released to the public. That's right, you can own a full pound of 1878 to 1921 classic American Morgan silver dollar coins, all in very good collector condition with fully visible dates and mint marks, guaranteed. Call 1-800-473-0864 now to secure collector-grade U.S. Morgan silver dollars by the pound, struck during the Wild West and the Gilded Age. Plus, receive a bonus American Collector's Pack, valued at over $25, free with every order. Call 1-800-473-0864 now to secure your full-pound bag of Morgan silver dollar coins before they are gone. 1-800-473-0864. That's 1-800-473-0864.
Everybody knows that your credit history can have a huge impact on your life, Amanda, especially when you're just starting out as an adult.
That's why Utah Community Credit Union, UCCU's new Credit Builder Loan is such a great idea. It's a way to build or to rebuild your credit.
All right, so let's talk about how it works. With Credit Builder, UCCU will open an account in your name and then provide that account with a fixed amount of funds along with a small automatic monthly payment. And as your automatic payments are made over time, of course, your credit builds, proving you're a responsible borrower and raising your credit score.
And that credit score is just so important because it determines the interest rates you'll get, higher credit limits, better loan terms because of your credit score.
And by the way, if you have kids in high school, open a Credit Builder loan in their name, and that way they're going to graduate from high school with a good credit score of their own.
It's called the Credit Builder Loan from Utah Community Credit Union, UCCU.
Just call or text UCCU or stop by any branch and start building your credit today.
UCCU, you're going to love where you bank.
Time again for traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair. Save up to 20 cents with DinoPay. I think it's Andy, still back in the traffic center.
Tis indeed, and we've got some slowing on Bangerter Highway down at the south end of the valley. This is that stretch between 13400 South in Harriman and 2700 West in Riverton. So it's eastbound traffic, and it's because they got the construction barrels out in the road. I-15 looks just fine. Provo to Salt Lake to up into Ogden and then into the canyons. Parley's had a couple of crashes this morning, but right now the road's dry and I don't see any extra delay. Revere Health encourages you to schedule your preventative care and annual checkups to help increase the potential to live your most healthy and active life. Revere Health, your partner in health, your partner in life. I'm Andy Farnsworth in the KSL Traffic Center.
A winter weather advisory is in place until Thursday. The Park City and Ogden Valley can expect more than 10 inches of snow over the last week. They'll be celebrating up there at Deer Valley and Park City. Tomorrow will be cold, just like today. High expected of 34. Lows overnight are going to be in the lower 20s. And right now in Salt Lake City, it's actually started to warm up just a little bit, 27 degrees. From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, I'm Tim Hughes. Remember to listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Deseret News is reporting that Utah Governor Spencer Cox is interested in looking into getting rid of Utah's state income tax. If you need a reason to convince me to live here forever, you nailed it, Gov. You nailed it.
Just get rid of the state income tax.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm taking a little bit of a breath.
I just don't know how they would make up the difference.
That's the key right there. That's the key, because let's be very honest, as exciting as it is to think, oh, get rid of the state income tax? Absolutely. I'm all about getting rid of all taxes. I would like to pay zero taxes, but that's not reality. So what do they got to do? They've got to either increase the state sales tax or they've got to increase property taxes. They're going to get their money, Deb. It's just, how do they want to collect it?
And I understand that.
Yeah.
I do. I understand that. We know that legislative leaders in Utah, they've been cutting the income tax rate for quite some time, and I hand that to them. I give it to them. That's great. More than $1 billion in the last couple of years. The tax rate's been reduced. It's better than going up. I'd rather have it cut than increased.
Good direction.
Another $160 million cut likely on the horizon this legislative session, which starts next week. Dave, you and I are going to be up there live on the Hill, so we'll be talking about this for the next 45 days. The cuts are great. I just don't know if I feel them. I want to feel it. You know what I mean? Like, I want to feel like I got a raise.
No, it's fair.
And I like what the governor said. If we want to see income grow, then we probably should tax it less.
Yeah. Anytime you can keep more of your money. But again, is this just kind of moving around, what do they would say, moving around chairs on the deck of the Titanic? Like, they're still going to get theirs. Whether you're taking it from income tax or sales tax, I don't know if it really matters. But they have been committed. The state legislature has been committed to cutting taxes. I just spoke to House Speaker Mike Schultz yesterday in an editorial board meeting, and he was absolutely adamant that, yeah, we're going to cut taxes again. Now, last year it was altogether something like $800 million. It was a massive tax cut. This year it would be far more conservative, just $160 million.
Rusty Cannon with the Utah Taxpayers Association. I think the governor said this to your association, didn't he, this week?
Yeah, we had our conference yesterday, and the question was posed, and we did talk about it, absolutely.
And what do you think? Is it likely?
You know, it is a very long-term conversation. So the reason the conversation is happening is this is happening in other states. There are several other states that already have zero state income tax. There's been others that have now stated, hey, we are going there in the next 5 to 10 years. And so the conversation is happening. As we know, that's how you grow your economy. That's how you attract capital, businesses, people. Everybody is moving to these low or no income tax states, Florida, Texas, North Carolina, places in the South, and they are leaving high tax states. That's plainly obvious by the data. So it works, and so that's why the conversation is happening. But it will not be in the near term, no.
So how do they make this up? Because obviously they still need the revenue. That we expect the state budget to be probably close to $30 billion. Where is the tax money coming from?
So of the portion that is not federal, that the legislature controls, it's about $12 billion, made up of sales tax and income tax. And I'm rounding numbers, but roughly $8 billion is income tax, $4 billion is sales tax, right? Property tax essentially all goes to local government, so that's a separate issue. But so they would have to figure out, okay, if we have $12 billion and we get rid of income tax, where do we shift that other $8 billion to? Other states do it in a myriad of ways. Sales tax is the most common one. Yes, it would mean higher property taxes, and that's where the question is it right for Utah? But what does happen is it attracts serious movement to their state, which is made up in the sales tax growth and the property tax growth with that two-legged stool. So that's why the conversation is happening.
Rusty, do you feel like people are putting pen to paper when they consider their moves, and on that piece of paper they include, not only the cost of housing, but also the income tax that they might have to pay? Are people taking that into consideration now, that they're thinking, I'm going to move to Florida or I'm going to move to Texas?
Well, for higher income earners, absolutely that's a factor. But, for more of your middle income, average type of folks, it's not the number one thing, but it's certainly a reason or an attraction. But more importantly, their employer is likely attracted to that state. And that's, and the job then pulls them there. Because we need to think about this from a holistic perspective. This will affect businesses as well as individuals. And that, for instance, where did Tesla move? They moved to Texas. There's zero income tax there. I mean, there's many different reasons to why that attraction happens, but that's essentially how it shakes out.
Interesting.
We're speaking to Rusty Cannon, Utah Taxpayers Association. And Rusty, I'm looking at the current sales tax in Utah. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the state sales tax rate is around 4.7%. Now, when you start adding the local taxes, it can jump up to 6 or 7%, whatever. But how much would the state sales tax have to raise if you did get rid of the income tax? Are we talking about doubling or tripling, or would it be able to stay the same?
That's a great question. I don't have that in front of me. I'm trying to do some really quick math in my head, but the sales tax base is really, really big, and therefore it wouldn't be as big of a percentage increase in the sales tax as you think. I mean, roughly, you're right. The state portion is 4.85 plus all your locals. It adds it up to somewhere between 6 and 8%, depending on what city you're buying your burger in. But a few percentage points or something like that would probably be in that. We'd have to do the math, but it's probably not as high as you think.
Fascinating conversation, Rusty. But you said long term, 5-10 years.
Yeah, this is a long-term thing. This is not something that's easily done or done overnight. For instance, it's taken us 6 years to go from 4.95 to 4.65, and now we're talking about 4.55 if this cut happens this session. It's a slow-moving ship, and we're happy to help steer it.
Yeah, if it takes that long to drop down half a percentage point to go to zero, it might be a pipe dream. It might be reality, but it might be a pipe dream. Rusty Cannon, thank you for joining us from Utah Taxpayers Association.
5 to 10 years. 10 years could work out beautifully for me. Scooting into retirement age. Well, just in that zone anyway, and making some decisions about, life choices, life changes, and moving to other states. So let's ask our listeners to call in. Is it too obvious to ask this question? Should we do away with state income tax?
Well, I think so. I think that it's almost that simple. Should we get rid of the state income tax? But here's the caveat, just to make sure everyone realizes this and understands it, that the state income tax primarily, almost exclusively, goes to fund Utah education. So there's kind of this backstop. You know that most of the state income tax is going directly because of state constitution, has to go to education. So as much as we want to celebrate this idea, does it scare you if you're a supporter of state education?
801-575-TALK is the number to call.
KSL is the only news radio for your car, right?
The only news radio for your smart speaker.
Come here in the morning. It's the latest news and traffic. In the afternoon, news and updated weather.
We have you covered at KSL News Radio.
I know it's Tuesday, but give me 60 seconds and I'll explain how spending $29 guaranteed. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and when you have Any Hour do the annual maintenance on your furnace, it comes with our no breakdown guarantee. 801-443-7400. Normally, we charge $124 to tune up your furnace, but not today. If you call today, Tuesday, January 9th, and mention you heard this ad, you'll lock in a $95 savings and get your furnace tuned up for only $29. 801-443-7400. If your furnace breaks down anytime this winter after we tune it up, we'll dispatch a technician to your home to diagnose and troubleshoot your system for free. And we'll give you back the $29 you paid for the tune-up. Where else are you going to find an offer with this little risk? You literally get your money back if your furnace breaks down. Call Any Hour Services today and schedule your $29 furnace tune-up. 801-443-7400. Google Any Hour Services or schedule online at anyhourservices.com.
Everybody has their own personal reason for why they come to Soda Weight Loss, why they decide they want to lose the weight finally. I mean, my decision was, if I don't lose the weight now, I'm afraid I'm just going to give up and settle for being this unhealthy weight for the rest of my life. But Jim came to it for a different reason.
My decision was personal from the standpoint of, I have the family history of family members being obese, and I did not want that. And I figured now would be a good time that I could take control of something.
Take control of something.
Yeah, and let me tell you why it's also a good time to do it right now, because you could win a full year of Soda's amazing program and a $2,000 wardrobe makeover in Soda's Shape Up Showdown. Here's all you have to do. Just email shapeup@sodaweightloss.com.
SodaWeightLoss.com. That's SOTA weightloss.com.
You know what they say, Amanda? Soda Weight Loss is state of the
art.
The new year is here, and it's time to take advantage of Zero Res's best deal of the year. Carpets, tile, rugs, upholstery, basically every surface in your home can be Zero Resified. Don't DIY it. Call Zero Res because you know it's safe and effective. Have you even Googled the company? They have a 4.8 rating on Google with over 3,300 reviews. The Zero Res Gotta Love It guarantee makes it easy to get what you pay for. Yeah, Zero Res absolutely stands behind every cleaning. Go ahead and get clean, but don't miss the best deal of the year. Get back to clean and get carpet cleaning for just $25 per room with promo code 25RM and 24% off upholstery cleaning with code SOFA24. Call Zero Res right now, 801-288-9376, or go online at zerores.com/Salt Lake and say you want the station special. Zero Res. Spell it backward or forwards. It spells the same.
My little brother's friends have been camped out at our place for 2 days straight. 3. It's because of the Xfinity 10G network. Internet that can handle a house full of screens at once, with basically no interruptions. And it's only getting faster. When I was their age, internet like this was a pipe dream.
You sound like my grandpa.
Please go home.
The next generation 10G network only from Xfinity. The future starts now. Now through March 21st, new customers can get 1.2 gigabit internet on the Xfinity 10G network for just $25 a month for 2 years with no annual contract and Wi-Fi equipment included when you add Xfinity Mobile with unlimited data at regular rates. Go to xfinity.com/10G, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Requires paperless bill and autopay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Taxes and fees extra. Xfinity Mobile requires Xfinity Internet. After promo, regular rates apply to internet service and Wi-Fi equipment. Actual speeds vary.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Tim Hughes. First, Governor Spencer Cox wants to eliminate income tax altogether, an action that would need extensive research on how to make up the money the state would lose. Second, we have the chance to see snow every day for the next 5 days, with areas potentially getting up to 18 inches. That's in the valleys. And third, the Salt Lake County Health Department now says 2 local children have died from the flu over the past month. We're going to look for a high today of 34 degrees, and right now in Salt Lake City, it's 27. Now back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Several other states don't have a state income tax. Florida, Nevada, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Wyoming? I just have to go boop right across the border and I not have to pay state income tax? Would you like to see Utah get rid of its state income tax? 801-575-TALK, the number to call. Again, that's 801-575-TALK. We're opening up the phone lines to your thoughts and opinions on this.
Utah brings in about $8 billion in income tax. So I guess my question is, they're going to make that up. Obviously, they're going to make that amount of money up. So where are they going to do it? Are they going to just increase the sales tax? Is that going to skyrocket? Is property tax going to go through the roof? Because right now, it's a 3-legged stool. You'll hear taxes described that way. It's sales tax, property tax, and income tax. Well, if you take away one of those legs, it gets a little wobbly. So, yes, on the surface, the idea of not paying state income tax is intriguing, but I just think they'll make it up in other spots.
I'm going to weigh in on my opinion in just a moment on that, on your thoughts. Rusty Cannon with the Utah Taxpayers Association called in just moments ago. This has been a discussion this week. The Taxpayers Association held what taxpayers associations do. It was like just a big conference just leading up to the legislative session. The governor was there and spoke to this very point that, if he had his druthers, we could do away with the state income tax. But this is a very long-range plan if it does happen. But I thought Rusty brought up a good point.
It is a very long-term conversation. So the reason the conversation's happening is this is happening in other states. There are several other states that already have zero state income tax. There's been others that have now stated, hey, we are going there in the next 5 to 10 years. And so the conversation is happening. As we know, that's how you grow your economy. That's how you attract capital, businesses, people. Everybody is moving to these low or no income tax states.
We're taking your phone calls, 801-575-TALK. Would you like to see Utah get rid of the state income tax? Now, just to be very clear, almost all of the state income tax, or a vast majority of it, goes to education, to fund education. So we want to know. 801-575-TALK.
Jerry, are you on the line with us?
I am, Deb.
Hi, how are you?
Good. So I've lived in 2 states. One, Nevada, had no income tax. Montana had no sales tax. Both of them do very, very, very well. The thing about, one really, I would call it crude argument that's been had in the back room, I guess, for about the last at least 10, 15 years. Back in 1984, Ken C. Gardner did a study on legalizing gaming in Utah. They estimated at that time, and we're talking, 30 years ago plus, that over $127 million went to Nevada, Idaho, and Wyoming for lottery and limited states gaming. There is an estimated $90 million right now that goes out of this state every year to internet gaming, which the state has absolutely no control over. There's probably 150 mom and pop grocery stores where if you win, you print a ticket, just like you print a receipt off your phone, take it into them, and they pay you.
Yeah, gambling, another possibility to bring in revenue. I don't see that happening, even though I hear what you're saying. Of course, a lot of money goes out of state. People still like to gamble. We're not getting any cut of that. There's pros and cons to it. I think maybe that's a conversation for another day. But if your argument is, well, if we have a shortfall that we bring in gambling to make up the difference, I'm not sure that's the solution. I don't think there's an appetite for that. Quite frankly, the hope is that by getting rid of income tax, that you're going to get enough energy and excitement about businesses coming here that will just explode the economy.
Back to your earlier point about the three-legged stool, I would be okay if we could grow the size of the sales tax leg on that stool and do away with income tax. If I had more money in my paycheck, likely just because of human nature, no matter how many family budget charts I fill out.
I see where you're going.
Right?
I see where you're going.
Yeah, I have an extra few $100s in my paycheck. And if, I get remarried, someday we both have a few extra, maybe it adds up to, a couple $1,000s a year, more than that. Maybe it's $10,000, $12,000. I don't know what I pay in state income. I have no idea. I couldn't tell you. But I'd have more money to spend, increase the sales tax rate. And then I could have more choice over whether I wanted to spend more money, on stuff I never needed to begin with. And if it attracts more business to the state, Rusty Cannon of the Taxpayers Association brought up a great example. Where did Tesla go? Where did Elon take his kingdom? He took it to Texas. Texas has no state income tax. Interestingly, we had a text come in that said, well, my kids moved to Texas and they pay a lot more in property tax, which made me think, would I be willing to pay more in property tax? Especially if I had a 2-income household, to pay more in property tax and then get money back, because I likely would, come out ahead with my income tax.
Yeah.
If I paid a little bit more in property tax and a lot more in sales tax.
I think largely it would probably be pretty even. They'll make up the income tax and the sales tax. I can't imagine that we'd just have boatloads of cash. Maybe a little bit more. That would be awesome. The property tax, one of the things I like about that is that goes to our communities. So that's where we see the majority of the money being spent from our property tax is in our schools, our roads, our sewer, our garbage collection. That's where a lot of the taxes go, to the infrastructure and to your own community. So it's a little easier to swallow that way.
Do you feel like people sit down and really calculate this when they're deciding to move, what state they're deciding? I think this is becoming more of a valid discussion point with families.
Well, from families, that would be very interesting to see if you would kind of factor that in where you're moving. I will tell you this. I do know that professional athletes, this is a very common theme in sports. So NBA players, absolutely high earners absolutely look at states and factor that in when they're being paid $10 million, $20 million, $30 million a year, and they see, I don't pay any income tax. They will absolutely choose that state over another location. Now, that's not the only thing they're using to determine, but it certainly is a factor. They're very open about it. They love the states that don't have in income tax. And if the state of Utah is going to bring in perhaps a Major League Baseball team, a National Hockey League team, then you could see having no state income tax could be a real selling point to free agents.
We're going to launch into our 10 o'clock hour with a new study out of BYU. Utah going blue when it comes to voting. Next.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Alexandria Bonilla. KSL's top story this hour, there's a chance for snow squalls today and throughout the week, but what exactly are they? KSL News Radio's Michael Commit explains.
A snow squall is kind of like a cloudburst, only instead of rain, it's whiteout conditions, flash freezing, and super bad visibility. You'll definitely want to stay off of the road for that one.
Federal weather experts say lightning is even possible during a snow squall. And it's important to stay warm during these few snowy days, but it's also important to do it safely. Investigators say a house fire in Spanish Fork was started by a heater that was too close to a chair in the garage. Fire crews say this should be a reminder to keep heaters away from anything that can catch fire. And our top national story this hour from ABC News. An appeals court is done hearing arguments for the day from former President Donald Trump's lawyer over his claims that he should have immunity in the federal election interference case because he was in office at the time.
John Sawyer, the attorney for Donald Trump, argued that a former president can only be prosecuted if he was first convicted at a Senate impeachment trial. If not,
the official acts are immune, period.
One of the judges asked, what if a president ordered his political rival assassinated but was never impeached? Justice Department lawyer James Pierce.
I mean, what kind of world are we living in if, as I understood my friend on the other side to say here, a president orders his SEAL team to assassinate a political rival and resigns, for example, before an impeachment? Not a criminal act.
Stephen Portnoy, ABC News, Washington.
Your money at this moment, the Dow is down 185 points, S&P down 8 points, and the NASDAQ is up 8 points. Coming up, bundle up and expect some more snow. KSL weather's next. KSL News Time, 10:02.
Here's a way to get breaking news updates anywhere you go.
At the store or in a work meeting, you can get breaking news on your phone.
You can quickly read it, swipe, or click for more. It's super discreet, super fast.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
If you're on the journey of building your dream home, remodeling, or just want to brighten up some rooms, let the Blind Man be your tour guide into the possibilities 2024 has to offer. Window coverings balance functionality and aesthetics by managing light and privacy effortlessly. Whether you seek a captivating design element, enhanced privacy, light-blocking solutions, or an infusion of natural light, the Blind Man's consultants are here to navigate you through the latest trends, tailoring them to complement your unique style. Motorized and automated roller shades have emerged as the preferred choice in 2024. This is driven by features such as the convenience they provide for hard-to-reach windows, providing safety for both children and pets, and contributing to energy efficiency. The Blind Man's experts would love to help you explore the options along your journey. Visit theblindman.com today to set up a free in-home consultation. Theblindman.com.
From Ogden to St. George, Utah's premier window covering provider, The Blind Man.
New home for the new year? Sounds nice, doesn't it? What about new lowered rates? Now's the time to step into a gorgeous new Nilsson home with less commute times, easy access, and with rates that have dropped more significantly than all year. Less really is more in this case. Less maintenance, less commute, and less money per month. Move north with Nilsson Homes. Choose from beautiful townhomes to Rambler communities for all stages of life. Most of all, Nilsson Homes are move-in ready and close to what you love and enjoy with easy commutes. Nilsson Homes has been building across the Wasatch Front for over 45 years, accommodating all the things you need, combined with the things you love. Make sure to ask about end-of-year promotional savings. Experience your new home for the new year. Visit Nilson Homes Communities at nilsonhomes.com. Nilson homes.com. That's nilsonhomes.com.
Any Hour Services can help you make sure your furnace keeps you warm this winter. Whether you need a tune-up, a repair, or a second opinion about replacing it, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma.
At age 30, Carissa finished her high school diploma.
If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, you can do it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
God, I'm so stressed. It's a brand new year and our business is busier than ever. Uma. What is that? Meditation?
I'm recommending the Uma cloud phone system with auto attendant and more than 35 features.
Uma?
Yep. Switching to Uma is a cinch. Starts at $19.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Uma.
Now you're feeling it. Visit Uma.com. That's OOMA.com to learn more. Uma. Smart communications for the smarter business.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair. Save up to 20 cents with Dino Pay. Here's Andy Farnsworth.
Things all clear on I-15 right now into and out of Salt Lake. You got some slowing on Bangerter, only in the lane restriction right before 2700 West down in Riverton. Utah County a little bit busy on University Parkway coming down the hill towards I-15, and a little bit on the north side of Utah Valley University, pretty busy along 800 South over by 800 West. It's 2024. Time to get Zero Resified with Zero Res. This month, get one room of carpet cleaning starting at $25 per room with promo code 25RM. Book today at zerores.com/Salt Lake. I'm Andy Farnsworth in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather. A winter weather advisory is in place until Thursday. The northern Wasatch Front can expect up to 7 inches of snow and 11 inches on the benches. Right now, it is 27 degrees and cloudy. I'm Alexandria Bonilla from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Is Utah turning more blue? We're going to explore that over the next 20 minutes or so. Get folks to weigh in who are experts in Utah politics. New research from BYU shocked me. It does suggest that there could be a shift in affiliation when it comes to Utah voters, Dave.
I can't say that surprises me for a couple of different reasons. I think the left, I think Democrats have a better marketing team, so to speak. The things that Democrats are pushing for, getting rid of college debt, free college, health care, free health care, all of these things, they sound a lot better than the GOP, the Republicans saying no free health care, pay for your own debts. Like that's not a great marketing plan. So when you compare it just on its surface, I can see where a lot of people would look at some of the Democratic talking points and think, oh yeah, I would love to be able to go to college and not walk away with tons of student debt. You start looking at it a little deeper and you can see some of the problems that come with offering all the free stuff. But I can see why, especially in the younger generations with the youth, where that would be tempting.
There's a couple of things that really jumped out at me with this research from BYU, comparing the 2000 election. So we're going back, 25 years almost, to 2020 for the White House. In 2000, Al Gore, Democrat, in Utah, gets about in the neighborhood of about 26% of the vote. President George Bush gets almost 67% of the vote. Okay, just a landslide. Now, fast forward to 2020, Trump gets 58% of the vote in Utah. Biden gets almost 38%. So we're looking at basically a 10-point swing in favor of the Democrats.
I think that's a much bigger problem that's a Trump problem. That's not necessarily a Republican problem. And the reason I say that is because if you look at some of our representatives or even Senate races, it's not 58%. I was just looking at Representative John Curtis, and he would routinely get 67, 68% of the vote.
So one of the bits of information that was cited in this story, and by the way, this article is from KSL.com, so they broke this down. One reason cited could be part of the shift is there's been a change in church membership. In 1990, 71% of the Wasatch Front, the folks living along the Wasatch Front, were members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Traditionally, kind of skew when it comes to voting, more conservative. By 2020, again, we're going to look at another 10% drop there, 60%. By 2040, it's anticipated to be 36%. Who align with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints are members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And then you've got demographic changes, too. Of course, we've had a lot more people move here as well.
Yes.
Finding that there's more college-educated women and college-educated men, for example. And those shifts, according to the Pew Research Institute, typically align with a higher likelihood of affiliating with Democrats. Just through research, they find that those who are college-educated typically align with Democrats. Taylor Morgan, host of KSL at Night, also embedded in Utah politics for a long, long time, partner at Morgan May Public Affairs. On the line. You buy it, Taylor?
Dave, Debbie, great to be with you. When I saw the headlines about this study, and when I say study, I'm using air quotes, because the conclusion is absolutely laughable. This is a pipe dream that we have heard from Democrats in Utah for the last 40 years, cherry picking one data point or another and claiming that somehow, some way, Utah is turning blue. It hasn't happened, and it is not happening now, Debbie. Dave is absolutely right. I hate to say that, Dave, but you're right. This is a Trump problem. This is an isolated election outcome between Donald Trump and Joe Biden in 2020. And this quote unquote study is using one single point of information to draw all kinds of wild conclusions that simply do not add up.
You don't feel that way? You don't feel, especially when you start looking along the Wasatch Front, you don't feel as though there's a shift? Because when you look at the election results in Salt Lake County, quite often the Democrats do very, very well and even beat out Republicans. Of course, it's a statewide race, but it's a statewide race. But if it was just in Salt Lake County, the Democrats do very, very well.
Debbie, over the last 20 years, Salt Lake County Democrats have lost half of the legislative seats that they used to hold in Salt Lake County. So if this study is going to claim that one election result is a way to draw a broader conclusion in Utah, then let me actually use some real points of data. Back in 2000, the percentage of registered voters in Utah that were Republicans in 2000 was about 40%. Democrats at the time were 10%. Fast forward to right now, as of today, information pulled at vote.utah.gov. Anyone can go look. Today, registered Republicans in Utah are 50% of all voters. Democrats are about 13% of voters. So over the last 24 years, Utah has become significantly more red. Back in 2000, the 2000 legislature, 31% of legislators in 2000 were Democrats. Democrats held 32 seats in the state legislature back in 2000.
Wow, that's a lot.
Today, Dave and Debbie, they have 20 seats. Only 19% of our legislature are Democrats.
If you're going to, but if you're going to use it's a Trump problem with the vote outcome in 2020. It's a Trump outcome. Wouldn't you say then it's a candidate problem with the Democrats too? Isn't that fair?
That is fair. Democrats have not fielded competitive candidates for most races up and down the ballot. Now, let me be vulnerable for a moment, and I know this will come back to haunt me. It always does. but I have to be honest here to point out exactly what happened with Trump and Biden in 2020. I, along with several thousand other Utah Republicans, decided that we were tired of Trump's rhetoric and the things he was saying, and we chose as Republicans to vote for Joe Biden in 2020. I did that. Fast forward to today, I think if Trump were on the ballot against Biden, I'd vote for Trump because Biden's policies have been so terrible. But again, just because 10 or 20,000 Utah Republicans made that choice to vote for Biden over Trump in 2020, that does not at all mean that Republicans like me and those others are suddenly now turning blue. I still went down the ballot and voted for Republicans for every other seat, even though I voted for Biden against Trump in 2020. This study is laughable. The conclusions are not real. And Democrats, I'm sorry to yuck your yum, but it's just not real.
Wow, way to bring it, Taylor. My goodness.
All I heard was Dave was right. All of that's all I heard was Dave was right. Taylor Morgan, amazing. Thank you for joining us, KSL at Night hosts. Thank you. And very interesting because, again, the conclusion was that by 2040, 36% of the state of Utah would be Republican.
Did he say yuck your yum?
That's a new bumper sticker. I'm gonna print it out right now. I just trademarked that. Yuck your yum. I have no idea what that means.
Taylor, stand by because we're gonna get ready to counter your point next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Dave and Debbie go out of their way to make sure you hear all sides of a story.
They're working the phones to get several viewpoints on for you.
Hi, it's Tim and Amanda. We get you the full story, too.
We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Severe weather means more than inches of snow and temperature forecasts.
Plenty of delay now approaching the freeway.
Crash on southbound and northbound I-15.
We appreciate it brings disruption, nervous driving, and changes to school schedules and plans. This week, get up and tell Alexa, play KSL News Radio.
We have you covered at KSL News Radio.
The monster is coming, and it wants you and your family.
And that's great news, really, because it's time for the Bear Lake Monster Winterfest, January 26th through the 28th. Winterfest is all about an incredible celebration of winter and all the fun it brings. So start Friday with Monster Winter Sports and Trails Day, a free event featuring fat tire bikes, snowshoes, snowmobiles, and tubes for the kids. Also a taste of Bear Lake, with local restaurants dishing up their tasty specialties. Then Saturday, it's the Monster 5K Walk and Run, a Monster Cisco Disco Tournament, chili cook-off, even a cardboard boat regatta, followed by the famous Monster Plunge. Come on, Bear Lake awaits. Visit BearLakeMonsterWinterfest.com for pre-registration times and locations. That's BearLakeMonsterWinterfest.com. Presented by Bear Lake Visitors Bureau and Bear Lake Chamber.
The snow and the cold are here, and there's more to come. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and if you haven't gotten your furnace tuned up yet, I'm about to save you some money. Normally, we charge $124 to tune up your furnace, but if you call today, Tuesday, January 9th, and mention you heard this ad, we'll give you $95 off and tune up your furnace for only $29. Call Any Hour Services right now to schedule, 801-443-7400. Manufacturers recommend annual maintenance to ensure safe operation, maximize efficiency, and help your furnace last for as many years as possible. 801-443-7400. If it's more convenient, go to anyhourservices.com and look for the red button that says Book Online. Schedule your $29 tune-up there. To lock in your $95 savings, all you need to do is get a hold of Any Hour Services today. That's a $124 value for only $29. If you call Any Hour Services today. 801-443-7400. Google Any Hour Services or schedule online at anyhourservices.com.
My little brother's friends have been camped out at our place for 2 days straight.
3.
It's because of the Xfinity 10G network. Internet that can handle a house full of screens at once, with basically no interruptions. And it's only getting faster. When I was their age, internet like this was a pipe dream.
You sound like my grandpa.
Please go home.
The next generation 10G network only from Xfinity. The future starts now. Now through March 21st, new customers can get 1.2 gigabit internet on the Xfinity 10G network. for just $25 a month for 2 years with no annual contract and Wi-Fi equipment included when you add Xfinity Mobile with unlimited data at regular rates. Go to Xfinity.com/10G, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Requires paperless plan and autopay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Taxes and fees extra. Xfinity Mobile requires Xfinity Internet. After promo, regular rates apply to internet service and Wi-Fi equipment. Actual speeds vary.
If you're looking to move out of your parents' place, you could really cut expenses by bundling your car and renter's insurance with Progressive, which is good because your little brother has gotten really territorial. You're blood related. You'd think it would be fine to share food in the fridge. I mean, who writes their name on every individually wrapped slice of cheese, Tyler? Still, you've got to admire the commitment. So bundle your renter's and car insurance with Progressive and use the savings to help you move out and have all the cheese you want. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. Coverage provided and serviced by affiliates and third-party insurers. Not available in all states.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online? Go to hims.com/joy. Through HIMS, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, and the process is 100% online. To start your free online visit, go to hims.com/joy. That's HIMS.com/JOY.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Alexandria Bonilla. First, the northern Wasatch Front can expect up to 7 inches of snow this week, and drivers can expect low visibility with a rough commute. Second, the Salt Lake County Health Department says 2 children have died over the past 30 days after coming down with the flu. Third, today is the last day for Utahns to change their party affiliation if they wish to vote in the Republican primary. Right now, it is 27 degrees and cloudy in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. Utah's top political story. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
Is Utah going more blue? There's a study out of BYU. And before you think, like, oh, we're all Cougar fans now, that's not what this study is about. It has to do with how we vote. And it does suggest that Utah, over the course of 20 years, has certainly voted more liberal. And we just spoke moments ago with Taylor Morgan of KSL at Night. He doesn't buy it.
This is a pipe dream that we have heard from Democrats in Utah for the last 40 years, cherry-picking one data point or another and claiming that somehow, some way, Utah is turning blue.
And if you look at the federal elections right now in Utah, Republicans own all 4 seats in the House, both seats in the Senate. In fact, when Mike Lee ran, Democrats didn't even put up an opponent to go against Mike Lee. Evan McMullen was an independent and has run as a conservative in the past. They didn't even put anyone up against Mike Lee. So this idea that Utah is turning more blue, Taylor made a pretty compelling argument that they are absolutely wrong in those conclusions.
Leah Murray is also a host of KSL at Night and director of the Walker Institute of Politics up at Weber State University. I thought that there were some great data points that were brought out in this KSL.com article, Leah, where the study compared, voting in 2000 for the presidential election compared to how we voted as a state in 2020. And it does show a 10-point swing. I mean, some would say, well, that's a Trump effect. And that's, in fact, what Dave and Taylor have said. What do you say?
Well, I would hate to say that Dave and Taylor are wrong because, love them both. But here's the deal. Yes, it could be a Trump effect. I mean, I think that's very fair that what we saw even in 2016, Utah was listed as a state we couldn't predict at the end of that election night because the numbers for Donald Trump in 2016 didn't come in the way that you would expect if you're just going to announce this as a safe state. So I do think there is a Trump effect, right? I'm not sure that that's wrong. But I actually think what Dave said just as we came into this segment is more to the point. I think this study shows that there is a swing in the voting population to, I wouldn't say to liberal, Debbie, like I would say it's actually to a middle point, right? So people are kind of swinging away from being conservative, probably more to a moderate independent position. But when they're voting, what do the Democrats give them as a choice to vote for? So if I'm going to vote for Mike Lee or an independent, right, if I'm someone who's shifting, I actually need a good Democratic candidate to hang my hat on, if that makes sense, right? Like to actually be behind. So I think part of the issue in the state is I think the voters are moving. I don't think the Democratic Party is capitalizing on that movement, if that makes sense.
No, I look at it in a very similar way, Leah, because a lot of times when you'll see when Democratic candidates challenge somebody, even a Republican that is vulnerable, what they will do instead of picking a more moderate Democrat, they will pick somebody that is far more progressive than I think the state is ready for. And then all of a sudden it turns into a blowout loss, and Republicans are like, take a victory lap. And I see this more of a problem perhaps with the Democratic Party and the candidates they're putting up against Republicans.
Yeah, and I totally think, so I will just tell you my own point of data. Like I ask students in my general education classes every year, so for a decade or more, where we do this Pew diagnostic, right? So you just kind of answer questions and then the Pew tells you where you are. 10, 15 years ago, most of my students would be on the red side, right? So the spectrum would be they are very conservative. And I would say, look, does this surprise you, blah, blah, blah. But I'm going to tell you what, in the last 5 to 6 years, slowly moving, that more and more of my students are identifying in the middle, so that the biggest chunks of students are actually moderate. So my gosh, Dave, you're totally could be right, that the positioning shouldn't be some left-wing progressive, but if someone ran, do you know what I mean, like as a moderate in the middle, then you might see some changes in that state legislature in those numbers that Taylor was citing. I think the party's just not putting up people who actually could win based on who's in that voter file.
Leah Murray is often a host of KSL at Night right here on KSL News Radio every night at 7 o'clock, and she's also the director of the Walker Institute of Politics at Weber State University. You referenced, polling your students, talking to them about their political leanings, Leah. Is there a reason why, or can you kind of just give us an indication of why you think these students are shifting more moderate?
Yeah, no, I actually think, and to be fair, it's actually coming out of the left, too. Does that make sense? So it used to be the case that you'd have like a few people in the room would be like, I'm totally crazy progressive. And now even my students who might identify as left-leaning are like, yeah, these parties have nothing for me. So I actually think it's a little generational. I think this next generation, whatever these parties are offering, does that make sense, both in the way of candidates, but also in the way of branding? Dave, you talked earlier about the Republicans having a kind of a marketing problem, but I would argue Democrats do as well, at least to the younger generation. So it's almost like they would like to, you know what I mean? Like choose, right? I want a candidate that gives me these 3 Republican positions, this 2 Democratic positions. So they're really not aligned with parties in a way that we have seen in previous generations.
Where are some of the marketing problems from the left? Because it's very easy for me to see the marketing problems from the right. It's not easy to preach fiscal conservative, to be fiscally conservative. So where do you think the marketing problems are from the left?
Yeah, no, I think one of the issues I would say, oh my gosh, as I wander into a really complicated conversation, but I would say the last little bit, the conversation around how we answer what's happening in Gaza and Democrats kind of messaging, if you just think of Claudine Gay and, the Harvard professor who just had to resign, the way that they are messaging around how to be opposed to Israel, I don't think is particularly compelling to young people generally. Does that make sense? So I think they are kind of talking to an elite niche group of people, and then out here in Utah, that's not cool, right? And students here are kind of like, we should be, supportive of Israel and we should be supportive of Jewish people. Does that make sense? So that's one top of mind, Dave, very recently. But I also think Democrats have an issue in this state of really, oh my gosh, it's about why should I vote for you? Because we need checks and balances. That is not an appealing, right? Nobody wants to vote for that. So the Democrats inside the state of Utah, not nationally, but inside the state of Utah, do not give young people a list of policies that are actually something they would care about.
And listening to you, Leah, and having young voters, kids of my own who are in their 20s, I can see the appeal factor with both parties dwindling. I mean, it just is. When kids joke and say, "Oh, boomer," it kind of feels like we're all a bunch of boomers to them. And my kids are invested in politics. They know a lot about what's going on. I mean, they talk to me about it. And in fact, my youngest is messaging me right now during the show to kind of weigh in on some different things. And she's giving me so they care a lot and they are invested. I just don't know if they can find the right party to invest in and, give them their energy and their vote to. So, Leah Murray.
No, you're absolutely right. Right there, Debbie. They care. So don't read it as they're apathetic.
Yes.
They care that
I
the
agree.
parties are not giving them. Yeah.
Yeah. You start saying they're apathetic, you're wrong. You're wrong. And so, Leah, I totally agree with you. Thanks so much for bringing it here this morning, as did Taylor Morgan. Both Leah Murray and Taylor Morgan, as always, fabulous. You can hear them at KSL at night.
Apathetic to their talking points.
Oh, I think
they're not. They have a lot of opinions. They have a lot of passions. It's just not what is resonating from the base.
Yeah, but I don't think they're apathetic when it comes to voting. I think we're going to see over the next several years, we're going to start seeing major turnouts from the younger generation and younger voters, because I think they're sick and tired of both parties. And they want change. I don't know what that change is going to hold, but I can feel it. I can feel it coming. There's a wave. There's a wave, and I think both parties are going to find that they need to pay attention to what the younger voters want. And we can't be old. We can't be we can't be ancient to them. We have to be relevant to them. They're finding more concerns with those MAX 9 planes that they grounded after disaster was averted on that Alaskan Airlines flight out of Portland.
We don't know if bolts were in there fractured or possibly the bolts weren't there at all.
More next.
10:31 at KSL News Radio. I'm Alexandria Bonilla. KSL's top story this hour. Today, before 5, is the last chance you'll have to get to switch your party affiliation in order to vote in the Republican caucus in March. KSL News Radio's Emma Keddington has more.
This today deadline applies to anyone who's registered with a political party. If you're a Democrat and want to vote in the Republican caucus, you've got to switch your affiliation to Republican by 5 today, or else you won't be able to cast a vote in March. This is how the caucus works. Utah will hold a statewide meeting on March 5th. Registered Republicans will meet at public buildings and schools to cast votes for president. The Utah GOP is calling this a presidential preference poll. If you're not registered as a Republican by 5, you won't be able to participate in that. Emma Keddington, KSL News Radio.
And the Republican presidential candidates are making their final pitches ahead of the Iowa caucus next week. ABC's M. Nguyen has more.
Trump's GOP rivals are crisscrossing Iowa in a close fight for second place. Former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley raising the temperature on Trump.
Just because President Trump says something doesn't make it true.
Haley also taking on more attacks from Florida Governor Ron DeSantis after she didn't mention slavery when asked what caused the Civil War. DeSantis quick to criticize Trump, who suggested the war could have been avoided through negotiations.
Former President Donald Trump spent the day in court rather than campaigning with the other candidates. He was listening in on his immunity claim hearing. Appeal. Other national stories KSL's following. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is on his 4th trip to the Middle East. We hear more from ABC's Tom Rivers at the Foreign Desk.
Well, Secretary Blinken's on yet another trip to the Mideast, talking of containment in the region. Israel took out a senior Hezbollah leader in southern Lebanon. Frustration is growing in the wider area, growing too questions over what influence, if any, Blinken has.
Several leaders from nearby countries are also starting to worry that the war in Gaza will become a regional conflict. Your money at this moment, the Dow is down 148 points, S&P is down 4, and the NASDAQ is up 13. Coming up, get ready for that snow. KSL weather's next. KSL News Time, 10:33.
News doesn't just mean information or dates.
It's the story of our local history being told in real time.
Be a part of the story. This is Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
We hope to be a part of your story. We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Jeff Kaplan here for my good friends at Advanced Window Products. Jake Weber and Nate Orchard are spreading the holiday cheer with their biggest sale of the year. If the wind whistles through your windows, if you want a fresh new look for your number one investment, your home, call Advanced Window Products and take advantage of this incredible end-of-year sale. Replace all of your windows and frames, and you get $2,500 off. But that's not all. You get a free premium glass upgrade. Insulate your home against the cold with double-pane windows and stylish frames, any style, any color, and they're built custom right here at their headquarters in Salt Lake City for 37 years. They build the windows, they install the windows, and they guarantee them for life. Plus, an additional $2,500 off and a free premium glass upgrade. You can save now, pay later, so take advantage. Call now, Advanced Window Products, 801-850-9100, 801-850-9100, or visit advancedwindowsusa.com.
We all make resolutions this time of year, and let's face it, most of them won't stick. But here's one that's not only easy to keep, but will help you feel healthier all year long. Navage. Navage provides quick, drug-free nasal relief by washing saline in one nostril, around the back of the nose, and out of the other nostril. This time of year, when everyone is sick, Navage helps by sucking out germs, bacteria, and viruses trapped in our noses that cause us to feel miserable. And come allergy season, it does the same with dust, pollen, and other allergens. And unlike medications that can take time to help, if they're effective at all, Navage helps treat congestion symptoms in seconds flat, without drugs. This New Year's, resolve to use drug-free Navage to help you breathe easier, sleep better, and feel healthier all year long. Ask for Navage at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Target, or find us online at Navage.com. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E. Clean nose, healthy life.
The Movie Show is at Minky Couture in Layton this Friday, January 12th from 10 to 1. Join KSL News Radio and Minky Couture and get special discounts and savings on your favorite Minky Couture products. And while you're at Minky Couture, check out all the ways to stay cozy and warm during these cold months, including the new Everywhere blanket. Join us this Friday at Minky Couture in Layton, 1782 Woodland Park Drive. MinkyCouture.com. Minky Couture, the best gift ever.
They say it takes 10,000 hours to become an expert. You may not have that kind of time for weatherization, energy efficiency, and appliance rebates, but we do. Dominion Energy's ThermWise program has experts who know where and how to save money. They help homeowners and businesses find simple ways to conserve natural gas and rebates through upgrades that may help to save even more. We put our energy into helping you conserve it, so you can spend your 10,000 hours becoming an expert in what matters to you. Start with a home energy plan at thermwise.com.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair. Save up to 20 cents with Dino Pay. Here's Andy Farnsworth.
We have a crash reported on North 15 near the Layton Parkway exit. At the moment, it looks like just a single vehicle over on the shoulder underneath the overpass, and even that's getting ready to drive away. We still have lane restrictions along Bangerter's south end in Riverton around 2700 West, so there's a little bit of an eastbound slowdown there. But I-15 corridor in Utah, Salt Lake counties looks fantastic. Cypress checking account members may enjoy discounted rates on auto and RV loans, free access to their credit scores and reports, and a suite of other products and perks. Learn more at cypresscu.com. Cypress Credit Union, your future is our future. I'm Andy Farnsworth in the KSL Traffic Center.
For KSL weather, a winter weather advisory is in place until Thursday. The northern Wasatch Front is going to expect to get up to 7 inches of snow and up to 11 inches of snow on the benches. Right now, it's 27 degrees and cloudy. I'm Alexandria Bonilla from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
As they inspect those MAX 9 planes that have been grounded between the United Airlines and Alaska Airlines, after what happened on that flight 1282 out of Portland, where passengers thought, this is how it ends. They're finding that there's other problems, Dave. I want you to listen and then weigh in on this, what the NTSB is saying about the latest on the investigation about that side of the plane that just vanished into the night sky. And then in a moment, I'm going to tell you what other problems are now being discovered.
We don't know if bolts were in there fractured or possibly the bolts weren't there at all.
I mean, honestly, we're not sure if the bolts were even in there at all. That is so disconcerting, so terrifying. Now, if you're just joining us and you're not quite sure what the Alaska Flight 1282 was, are we going to
go ahead
recap a little bit?
You're fine. Yeah,
in case you're not familiar with the story, this Alaska Airlines flight takes off, and it's about halfway to their cruising altitude, about 15,000 feet. There's this section of the plane that kind of looks like an emergency door, but it wasn't an emergency door. It was one of those designs where, like, well, you could turn it into an emergency door if you wanted. So, but it wasn't. There were seats sitting right next to this panel. The panel blows off in the middle of the flight. So it looks like an emergency door-sized hole in the side of the plane. Fortunately, everybody is buckled in. Nobody gets sucked out. A lot of things do get sucked out, whatever's not tied down. Cell phones. One young boy had his shirt ripped off.
Of his body.
Off his body. And fortunately, they were able to make an emergency landing. Nobody was injured, but a terrifying moment. I can't imagine how terrifying that must have been.
So they find these couple of cell phones 15,000 feet below. I thought you stated it so well yesterday. You can't drop your phone 12 feet.
I get dropped at 4 feet without it breaking.
Yeah, without it breaking. One of them's still working. I saw a video of a man who found one of the cell phones, and he said it didn't have a lock screen on it. I'm like, who doesn't lock their cell phone? That's where my mind first went. Like, who doesn't lock their cell phone? Well, apparently this passenger, it was still in airplane mode, and he clicked on it. It was working, and it showed like a boarding pass. So he knew what he'd found. A school teacher in Portland found that section of the plane that just blew off, boop, gone, in his backyard, intact.
A friend of mine called me and said, you should probably check your backyard because they're still looking for the door. And so I thought about that for a while, and once I'd finished my work for the day, I came out to look for it, and that's when I found it.
I'm guessing he lives under a flight path, so, you're always looking up and hearing it. So I've lived in a place where I was under a flight path, and so if something's fallen off the plane, it's fallen onto you. Thankfully, nobody really seriously hurt that we know of. Nobody on the ground gets pinged in the head by this falling side panel or a phone at that kind of speed. My goodness, it could have just really smacked somebody good.
Well, to give you an idea, if it lands in his backyard, it narrowly missed the home. That is
wild.
Can you imagine?
There's so much about this story.
It's dropping at terminal velocity. It would be like a meteor striking your home.
The fact that everybody was belted in, the fact that they hadn't, nobody had purchased or was sitting in those two seats where that side panel just disappeared. They weren't 30,000 feet up at the time, because I think it could have been much worse. In fact, the NTSB has said it could have been a lot worse. I mean, here's the damage to some of those seats that were right by that panel that disappeared.
26A was torqued, so was 25A. The headrests on 25A and 26A were gone. The seat back on 26A is also missing. The tray table on the back of 26A is also missing.
The headrest was missing? The headrest was missing. I mean, that just got ripped off. As you heard her describe, the seat was torqued. It had been lifted and twisted. It nearly sucked the plane or the chair right out of the plane. Imagine if somebody was in there just by sheer luck.
They'd be dead.
Nobody was sitting in these seats.
Yeah. Dave, I mean, I just can't even imagine. United Airlines Alaska primarily fly this plane in the United States. These planes are grounded. Both now say they have found loose bolts on the plane, and some of the reports say they're in the same section of the plane that blew out over Portland. So we don't know what the fate of these planes is, how long they'll be grounded, but it's almost as though if you believe in, the universe and all, a higher being even, is that this happened to these people so something worse didn't happen to another flight. Because this plane had been going back and forth to Hawaii over the ocean. And Alaska Airlines said, or somebody reported that there was 3 warning lights that had come on. And so Alaska had made the decision not to continue to fly this plane over the ocean to Hawaii. Where are you going to go if this gives out over the ocean? I think, my goodness, I'm sorry for what y'all went through, but it's taught me a lot. First of all, I'm staying belted the entire flight unless I really, 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 really got to go. I mean, it's got to be like I drank 80 ounces of water. In fact, I'm not drinking water on days I fly anymore. I'm just not.
Go on dehydrated.
I'm just going, hoping there's a doctor on the plane if I need help. Because I'm not drinking water.
I'll bring an IV, but I'm not going to bring you Coke.
This has consumed my last 3 days of my life. Like, how do I need to change it? What sign is this showing? I'm not going to book a window seat anymore. Y'all can have it. I'm doing the aisle.
Why would you want the window seat?
I've honestly sat in the window seat my entire life. That's the only seat. So this is altering everything about my flying experience.
You'll be over it by Tuesday. Okay, we got to talk about the compensation package. You found it because we had laughed. Like, what do you got to give these passengers? We have learned.
I'm saying like $1 million. I'll sign on the dotted line if this is me. So I wanted you to listen real quick. This is what one passenger told CNN.
I thought, we might be going down. What I sent to my mother was, the plane has exploded and I'm not sure what's going on, but I love you. And it was horrifying.
So if I feel like I'm on the edge of death, and then I find out, this plane, was restricted to where it could fly because there'd been warning lights, and I went into this flight just thinking I'm just going to bebop over to Ontario, California. How hard can this be? Yeah, I'm looking for something to sign, like a non-disclosure agreement and $1 million or $2 million. I mean, is that greedy? They're offering, according to the New York Post, Alaska Airlines offered $1,500. This is the headline from the New York Post. Alaska Airlines offers passengers mere $1,500 for horror flight as potential lawsuits loom.
You'll get $900 to be bumped off your flight because of overcrowding, but they're like, this life-altering experience, you may never fly again. We'll refund your ticket, obviously, and then we'll throw you another $1,500 in credits to you. That was laughable. If they think they're getting off that easy, think again, friends. You're not getting off with $1,500 in a new ticket.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Current events can have a lot of moving parts. Our job is to make it easy to keep up.
You're part of a bigger world, so spend 15 or 20 minutes here and be part of it.
Join us weekday mornings between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
It wasn't until I called Connecticut of Utah and said, hey, will you guys come out to my house and kind of walk me through the importance of soft water? I grew up with soft water, but when you're a kid, you don't realize, why we have soft water. I just remember loading the 50-pound bags of rock salt on my shoulder and loading them into the bin. That was my job. So I wanted to find out, okay, well, where does it affect me the most? And they just started ticking off all the benefits of soft water. The ones that really resonated with me, obviously, the skin, the soft skin. We really struggle with dry skin in my family, so that was huge. Your laundry, the dishes, the hard water stains. I mean, think about the hard water stains on your shower. You need a jackhammer to get that bad boy off. It's so hard to clean. So once I got soft water, it was incredible. We didn't fight these hard water stains anymore. Much easier on my expensive appliances. So if you're interested in getting soft water into your home, give Connecticut of Utah a call. They're an authorized Connecticut dealer, 801-576-8600. That's 801-576-8600. Or, of course, you can look at them online at softwaterutah.com. That's softwaterutah.com.
I know it's Tuesday, but give me 60 seconds and I'll explain how spending $29 guarantees your furnace won't break down this winter, or we'll give you your money back. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and when you have Any Hour do the annual maintenance on your furnace, it comes with our no breakdown guarantee. 801-443-7400. Normally, we charge $124 to tune up your furnace, but not today. If you call today, Tuesday, January 9th, and mention you heard this ad, you'll lock in a $95 savings and get your furnace tuned up for only $29. 801-443-7400. If your furnace breaks down anytime this winter after we tune it up, we'll dispatch a technician to your home to diagnose and troubleshoot your system for free. And we'll give you back the $29 you paid for the tune-up. Where else are you going to find an offer with this little risk? You literally get your money back if your furnace breaks down. Call Any Hour Services today and schedule your $29 furnace tune-up. 801-443-7400. Google Any Hour Services or schedule online at anyhourservices.com.
Everybody has their own personal reason for why they come to Soda Weight Loss, why they decide they want to lose the weight finally. I mean, my decision was, if I don't lose the weight now, I'm afraid I'm just going to give up and settle for being this unhealthy weight for the rest of my life. But Jim came to it for a different reason.
My decision was personal from the standpoint of, I have the family history of family members being obese, and I did not want that. And I figured now would be a good time that I could take control of something.
Take control of something.
Yeah, and let me tell you why it's also a good time to do it right now, because you could win a full year of Soda's amazing program and a $2,000 wardrobe makeover in Soda's Shape Up Showdown. Here's all you have to do. Just email shapeup@sodaweightloss.com.
SodaWeightLoss.com. That's SOTA weightloss.com.
You know what they say, Amanda? Soda Weight Loss is state of the
art.
The new year is here, and it's time to take advantage of Zero Res's best deal of the year. Carpets, tile, rugs, upholstery, basically every surface in your home can be Zero Resified. Don't DIY it. Call Zero Res because you know it's safe and effective. Have you even Googled the company? They have a 4.8 rating on Google with over 3,300 reviews. The Zero Res Gotta Love It guarantee makes it easy to get what you pay for. Yeah, Zero Res absolutely stands behind every cleaning. Go ahead and get clean, but don't miss the best deal of the year. Get back to clean and get carpet cleaning for just $25 per room with promo code 25RM and 24% off upholstery cleaning with code SOFA24. Call Zero Res right now, 801-288-9376, or go online at zerores.com/Salt Lake and say you want the station special. Zero Res. Spell it backward or forwards. It spells the same.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Alexandria Bonilla. First, prepare for possible snow squalls this week. They can create some rough conditions that you don't want to drive in. Second, the Salt Lake City School Board will make its final decision on the closure of 4 elementary schools tonight. We'll give you the update as soon as we get it. Third, avalanche risks will be high this week with the snowfall expected. Backcountry travelers are advised to check the Avalanche Center's website before going out. Right now it is 27 degrees and cloudy in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Let's talk about the domino effect going on in Utah politics. It starts with Senator Mitt Romney deciding he's not going to run for a second term in the Senate.
At the end of another term, I'd be in my mid-80s. Frankly, it's time for a new generation of leaders.
This was an incredible moment for me. This hasn't happened in my lifetime, that a Utah senator steps down after a single term in office. His choice. And he steps down. That was incredible to me.
So here's the domino effect. After you get over your, oh my goodness, gee whiz, wow, light bulb moment of him stepping down, there's a lot of other things that happened. Maybe it's a natural turnover of positions, people just seizing the moment. So once the Romney domino falls, you get Representative John Curtis, who represents the 3rd Congressional District in Utah. He decides he's going to run for Romney's seat.
Yeah, and since you can't run for multiple offices at once, Curtis announces, and he's giving up his third district seat. Because, you can't be like, I'm going to run for everything. So he had to choose. He chose to run for the Senate. So his seat is open now. That's the domino number 2.
So then the third domino to fall is State Auditor John Frugal Dougal. Isn't that how he's listed on the ballot?
Yeah.
John Frugal Dougal.
Yeah.
he announces he's not going to seek a second term or another term. He's probably been in longer than 2 terms. Sorry, John's going to join us in a minute. He's not going to seek another term as state auditor. So if you're wondering why we keep saying John Frugal-Dougal, he does. That is exactly how his name shows up on the ballot. He's also been elected to Utah by getting more votes than any other candidate in Utah history.
Yeah, and let's be honest. If you're running for state auditor and you have Frugal, how are you not going to get voting? How are you not going to vote for that guy? Like that was some great marketing. But John has served as the Utah auditor since 2013, so it's been a good run over a decade.
How many times have you run a campaign for state auditor, John?
I've run 3, so I'm wrapping up my 3rd term.
Did you want to run for the Senate seat?
I was considering all options. Folks wanted me to consider all options. You'll ask the question, why didn't I run for re-election as auditor? In 2012, folks asked me what is the appropriate tenure for an auditor. I said 2 to 3 terms, which is 8 to 12 years. And I felt like I'd be going back on my word if all of a sudden I were to say, oh, wait, no, it's different now for me. So I believe in term limits and change.
Okay, so you had the comfortable job. You were very popular, as we mentioned, receiving more votes than any candidate in history. I can't remember how many, but it was over 1 million votes.
More than 1 million votes.
Okay, so is it a little scary to take a risk and move on to something like the House?
Well, here's the key thing. So as I sit here and I look at my 2-year-old grandson, and I think about the future that's being left to him, I'm really concerned. The key challenge we have is, will America continue to be that shining city on the hill that Reagan talked about, or are we going to suffer economically? We've talked in the past about, Department of Defense can't pass their audit. We've talked about the amount of ballooning debt, $34 trillion and growing. Just since the football season started, Congress has allowed another $1 trillion of debt to be added. And this is not sustainable. And while various folks are somewhat concerned with the fiscal matters, I don't think anybody is hyper-focused on how do we start to rein in and bring some sanity to the spending problems in D.C. And so I'm willing to throw myself in and say that I'll focus on that stuff, and we'll see what the voters decide.
John Frugal-Dougal on the line with us live. He's the state auditor right now, running for the 3rd Congressional District. There are 8 other, 8 other Republicans in that same race. And there's some folks I've heard of before, and we'll speak to more of them as the days and weeks go on, John. But 8 Republicans, that's quite a field. How do you get out of the primary? Do you collect signatures to make sure you get to that ballot, or how do you get out of convention? I should start there.
Well, one of the first things, I don't think there's been any elected official that's done more to try and protect the caucus convention system than me. And so if all the candidates agree that we're just going to do convention, I'm fully supportive of that. But I did check the box to allow for the option of signatures, given some of the concerns and games that have been played in years past. But it's really out there. It's pitching a message of fiscal responsibility and what I can do and what I'm willing to do to try and tackle that. I mean, the simple fact is I've spent years fighting to keep government off people's backs and out of their pockets. And so that will be my message going forward, and we'll see if that resonates.
When you took over as state auditor back in 2013, I looked at the state budget back then. It was $13 billion. This next budget is expected to be close to $30 billion. What have you learned over this last decade, and how can you maybe take some of those lessons learned to Washington?
So one of the key things that I've learned over the years is, elected officials like to spend money, unfortunately. And they seem to forget whose money it really is and how hard the American people or the Utah citizens work to get that money. The other thing, though, that's critical, I look at D.C. and there's a lot of bomb throwing and calling people's names and animosity. The simple fact is, to solve these problems and have lasting influence at the federal level, you're going to have to reach across the aisle. You're going to have to understand the other people's perspective. You're going to have to find ways to help them get a win as we rein in the fiscal insanity that's back in D.C. You can't do it by just calling people names and accusing them of being the enemy. You have to work and collaborate and persuade them of why this is a better path. And that is going to take a lot of work. And some say I'm overly optimistic, but folks have to be willing to try and fight those battles.
Is it going to show up as John Frugal Dougal on the ballot?
Yes.
And that's legal. You can do that.
No, that is absolutely legal. My dad was Frugal Dougal before I was even born. This has been my name my whole life.
I love it. Well, we appreciate you joining us. Thanks, John. Has joined us many times on this show as the state auditor. Now he's joining us as a candidate, and we will continue to talk to candidates over the next several months.
Yeah, there's a lot of shifting going on right now in Utah politics when it comes to our representation back in D.C. We had Chris Stewart resign his seat back in the House. Celeste Malloy elected to his seat to replace him. She's running for re-election. And now we have Senator Mitt Romney making the decision that he's not going to seek re-election. And what is it, a total of, what do you decide, 12 Utahns who want to be sent back to the Senate to represent Utah. We're just starting this. It's getting good.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Alexandria Bonilla. KSL's top story this hour. The Salt Lake County Health Department says 2 children have died over the past 30 days after coming down with the flu. These are the first confirmed flu-related deaths for anyone in the county under the age of 18 this winter. 3 people over the age of 50 have also died. None of the people who died did receive a flu vaccine, and County Health Director Angela Dunn says this is a reminder that influenza is a serious disease. And for the first time, a tax credit will be available to parents of adopted children in Utah. The state passed the adoption tax credit bill last year, allowing Utahns to get a one-time credit up to $3,500 in the year the adoption was finalized. Lawmakers say this credit will help with the cost of adoption, making it more accessible. And if Utah leaders axe the income tax, they'll need to get another way to bring in revenue. KSL News Radio's Michael Commit continues our coverage.
Many lawmakers in Utah are on board with getting rid of the income tax, but they're also aware they need to find another way to fill the coffers. In this regard, they're kind of playing it by ear, or as State House Speaker Mike Schultz says, we can, quote, walk and chew gum, close quote. We'll just have to see how other tax rates are affected as lawmakers continue to chip away at income tax. Michael Commit, KSL News Radio.
Your money at this moment, the Dow is down 165 points, the S&P is down 2, and the NASDAQ is up 35. Coming up, get ready for that snow this week. KSL Weather's next. KSL News Time, 11:01.
You know what's great about KSL's traffic coverage? Trained traffic reporters and real listeners.
Trading information and making the commute safer and faster for everyone.
Every 10 minutes on the 9s, we have you covered on KSL News Radio.
If there's a problem during your siding, gutter, or window installation project, most contractors will try to hide it, ignore it, or blame someone else. It's called passing the buck or turning a blind eye, or my favorite, finger pointing. My question is, where is the accountability? Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors, and look, sometimes problems just happen, no matter who you hire. Maybe the wrong color siding gets delivered, despite the order being placed perfectly, or maybe a downspout gets cut short. Honestly, it could be anything. At RGS Exteriors, mistakes are rare. But if something goes wrong, I can absolutely, positively, 100% guarantee you we'll never hide it and we'll never pass the buck. We'll make certain everything turns out right for you. That's people over profits. That's the RGS Exteriors way. For a free estimate on siding, gutters, or windows, call 801-280-3110, rgsexteriors.com, rgsexteriors.com.
Going to a Jazz game is more fun together. Host an unforgettable night at Delta Center with colleagues, friends, families, whoever. Group tickets are the best way to get everyone together to cheer on the Jazz. Pick from a variety of options for seating, dining, and game day experiences. Start planning your big night at the game by calling 801-355-DUNK, emailing group sales at utahjazz.com, or simply visiting utahjazz.com/tickets.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Guys, are you sick of struggling with ED? Well, let me introduce you to GuyCare. GuyCare can effectively treat your ED at the source of the problem by using gentle pressure waves, no injections, no pills, and no side effects. In fact, GuyCare is so confident that we can help you that today only, January 9th, we are giving you the first treatment free. You heard right, guys. As part of our grand opening, your first treatment is completely free. No gimmicks, no injections, and no pills. Just results. But you have to call now. 801-331-9911. Normally, this would cost hundreds of dollars. But call us today, January 9th, then your first treatment is totally free. 801-331-9911. That's 801-331-9911. Put a stop to your ED by treating the root of the problem and get your love life back. Call now to qualify for this incredible offer. 801-331-9911. Because your high performance health matters.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair. Save up to 20 cents with Dino Pay. Here's Michelle Rowe.
Well, we're seeing good speeds right now on I-15, whether you're going from Tremonton all the way down to Spanish Fork. Also, the belt route is in good conditions. So let's just say this is the calm before the storm. It's 2024. Get time to get Zero Resified with Zero Res. This month, get one room of carpet cleaned starting at $25 per room with promo code 25RM. Book today at zerores.com/Salt Lake. I'm Michelle Rowe in the KSL Traffic Center.
For KSL weather, a winter weather advisory that's in place until Thursday. The northern Wasatch Front can expect up to 7 inches of snow, and the benches are going to get up to 11. Right now, it is 27 degrees and cloudy. I'm Alexandria Bonilla from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories. On KSL News Radio, Dave and Dujanovic have inside sources.
We've been talking about the domino effect in Utah politics. And 34 candidates, Dave, vying for either the House or the Senate back in D.C. And it's January 9th. We already know who all these candidates are. Because they have a filing deadline, and it is in January. It used to be in March, but now it's in January. So we've got these 34 candidates running for 5 federal offices. We've got 20 candidates running for 5 state offices.
Yeah, it's something that Representative John Curtis welcomes.
This seat should be earned. Nobody just walks into this seat, and nobody should be surprised that the quality of candidates jumping into this race, and we're not done, right? More people are going to jump into this race, is very high, because this is a contested seat, and it should be. And the state deserves a race with the best people in the state running, making their case why they should be elected.
There's a lot of candidates. Now, there is the occasional out-of-nowhere candidate, the underdog story that wins. In fact, Representative Celeste Malloy was that very story this last election. I'd never heard of her name before. Maybe insiders like Boyd. I'm sure Boyd knew Celeste. But I wonder how many of these 34 candidates genuinely believe that they have a chance. Now, Boyd Matheson, Inside Sources, joins us. Now, Boyd, I've heard you ask this of every candidate. What makes it worth it even if you don't win? Because there's going to be a lot of these 34 that don't win. What is it? I mean, I don't. What makes it worth it? Maybe it's the sports guy in me that's like, if you don't win, why play?
And there are various reasons that people will get into this, and some of them will pay that filing fee so they can give a 4-minute speech at the GOP convention if they're running on the Republican side, or at the Democratic convention on the other. And so some people they want to have that moment. They want to have that platform. Some people are making it a point. Some of them, it's a single issue that they want to raise or make sure it's considered in part of the debate. And so all of those things are good. And granted, there are some in there that might just be bored, and so they need something to do, so they're going to jump on in there, and so that's the beauty of the process, is that it allows everybody who wants to get in can get in. More choices is better than less choices. I think that's an important part of our constitutional republic. Sometimes we complain about it, that there's too many, it's too crowded. but more choices is better than less choices.
You think so, Boyd? I feel like I compared it earlier to the cereal aisle at the grocery store. I don't think more choices in the cereal aisle has necessarily been a good thing for American families. So you look at the U.S. Senate race alone for Senator Mitt Romney's seat when he leaves office. There's 8 Republicans right now who filed. Is it good to have 8 Republicans, or does that just start to whittle down the vote to the point where nobody can really bubble up to the top as a clear choice for Republicans, which is already having an issue with party unity?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple ways to look at that. One, I think it's really important to recognize what the alternative to that is, and that goes back to smoke-filled rooms and party bosses deciding who the candidates are going to be. And nobody wants to go back to that scenario where we just have the elites making all the choices. So to Dave's point, you can have that wild card person, that underdog story, a Celeste Malloy, who can come in and say, look, I know the drill. I know how to do policy. I do it really well. I care about this district and can actually be a great representative. I think it's also important what you heard Representative John Curtis say, and he was very specific in that. He said, this seat. It's not Mitt Romney's seat, not Orrin Hatch's seat. It's the people of Utah's seat. And so they should have those kind of choices and those kind of options. I think that's a real crucial part of it. And so, yeah, there's some that might be a little bit distracting, but they're going to have to prove out that they have some sort of base if they're going to be on a debate stage, if they're going to really get some momentum or have an opportunity to share that story. And so that usually takes care of itself. Those that are the outliers or the ego candidates or whatever, they usually come and go pretty quickly. And then you'll have the real meat of it in terms of those that are the serious contenders.
What do you make of the dominoes falling? So Romney leaves, Curtis leaves to replace Romney, Auditor Dougal leaves to replace Curtis, House Speaker Wilson leaves to challenge. You've got all these people moving and kind of repositioning themselves. What do you make of all the dominoes?
The dominoes are always interesting to watch how they fall and where that goes, and I'm okay with all of that. I think everything is. I always look at it as seasonal work. That's how we should look at it. And so I think John Dougal was very right. He said out front, I'm going to do 3 seasons max as the auditor. Did that, sees an opportunity to take something that he does well in terms of fiscal responsibility. That's a big issue in Congress right now. So that makes sense in terms of that kind of domino falling and pursuing that. I think Governor Cox has been very clear. I'm going to play 2 seasons in the governor's space, and then I'm going to go do something else. And I think having that is, again, a good thing. That turnover and that churn is a good thing. I told our staff when I was a chief in D.C., this is all designed to be seasonal work. Whether you are the elected official or whether you are a staff member, come in, work hard, make a difference, leave a legacy, and then get out of here. Go back to your community, make a difference there.
How hard is it for, like just the Senate race, going back to that where there's 8 Republicans, how hard is it to raise money when you're running in a field of 8, all on the, under the same party umbrella?
Yeah, it is a challenge to be sure, and sadly, the money's become even more important. I remember a race back in 2010 that had 12 candidates vying for a Senate seat, and it was the same process. And back in those days, we actually did debates all the time. There was like 47 debates before they even got to convention, and so the money has become a more important part of it. It gets very difficult. And so candidates have to get really creative in terms of how they do that. Sadly, we tend to reward the bad behavior that gets attention rather than the real policy discussions that should drive it.
I would imagine that this would force a situation where you have 8, more and more of them to turn to social media where it may be less expensive in some cases, especially if it could be free. And you reach a lot of people in the palm of their hands, right? When it counts the most, there's no big television camera in between you and them. So I would imagine that is where a lot of this, and it's on TV, it's on radio too, but a lot of it is probably they're forcing it to go more and more to social media.
It's very interesting. All of the consultants that I work with across the country, it is so interesting to see how targeted this is all becoming. It used to be you were solely reliant on the local paper, the local TV station, the local radio station, and you had to play that game. Now candidates can go directly to the persuadable voters. I mean, the data analytics that are involved in campaigns now is mind-boggling to me. Like, it is otherworldly in terms of who they're going to target. It's not just I'm just going to target this liberal Democrat. It's I'm going to target this Democrat in this space because they're persuadable on this issue, and I'm going to serve up these ads into their social media feed.
Wow.
It is that targeted, that specific. But that goes back to your point, Debbie. That costs a lot of money, and so raising that campaign cash becomes a bigger piece of the puzzle.
I would like to talk about the power of the incumbency. Celeste Malloy, not saying any familiar names that challenged her the last go-around, so no Becky Edwards, no Bruce Huff. Burgess Owens doesn't even have a Republican challenger in Congressional District 4. So can you speak to the power of the incumbency?
Yeah, incumbency is it's historically been so powerful across the country. I mean, it's about 90 to 94% of incumbents are reelected every year. And to me, that is the ultimate for all of us to say, wait a minute, am I part of the problem? Because we sort of get into this power thing of the incumbency of, yeah, I may not like that person, but if I don't vote for her, I don't vote for him, I'm going to lose power, because that's what incumbents want us to believe. Because they'll say, Debbie, you can vote for whoever you want. That is your most important right as an American citizen. But if you don't vote for me, you're going to lose power, you're going to lose influence, you're going to lose money. And then we vote scared rather than vote smart. And there's a big difference.
Boyd Matheson, Inside Sources today from 1 to 3. Thanks, Boyd.
Thanks, Boyd. Listen to you on my drive home, as always. We're 1 week away. Not even. I mean, we are 1 week away. It starts next Tuesday, the legislative session. So we're going to break down a few important pieces of legislation, things to watch on Utah's Capitol Hill next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Here's a trick to podcasting at work and getting all the Utah news you love.
Download the KSL News Radio app.
The podcast for Utah's morning news and Dave and Debbie are right there. Dozens of podcasts a day.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
7 days until Utah lawmakers are back on the Hill.
Making decisions that affect you.
Fewer taxes taken out of paychecks.
Tax credits for families,
affordable housing,
and school funding.
This week, KSL tells you everything you need to know about the upcoming session. Wednesday, school safety and curriculum. Thursday, AI and technology. Friday, anything affecting taxes and your money. Listen this week, Eye on the Hill 2024
on KSL News Radio.
It is cold outside, and that's no surprise because it's winter. But for me, it's been even colder than usual because I've shed over 50 pounds, yes, 50 pounds of fat weight since September following the program designed for me personally at Soda Weight Loss. Yes, I made it through the holidays losing weight, not gaining it, and as a result, now I gotta wear a jacket all the time because I'm so cold. But it's so fun to take off the jacket and be skinny. And just in time to help you keep your New Year's resolution, I've got an amazing opportunity to tell you about. You could win a full year of Soda's amazing program and a $2,000 wardrobe makeover, and you'll need it, in Soda's Shape Up Showdown. To enter, all you have to do is send an email to shapeup@sodaweightloss.com. That's shapeup@sotaweightloss.com. That's it. So don't wait anymore. Make 2024 the year you change your life for the better with Soda Weight Loss. Say it with me. State of the art.
The snow and the cold are here, and there's more to come. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and if you haven't gotten your furnace tuned up yet, I'm about to save you some money. Normally, we charge $124 to tune up your furnace, but if you call today, Tuesday, January 9th, and mention you heard this ad, we'll give you $95 off and tune up your furnace for only $29. Call Any Hour Services right now to schedule. 801-443-7400. Manufacturers recommend annual maintenance to ensure safe operation, maximize efficiency, and help your furnace last for as many years as possible. 801-443-7400. If it's more convenient, go to anyhourservices.com and look for the red button that says Book Online. Schedule your $29 tune-up there. To lock in your $95 savings, all you need to do is get a hold of Any Hour Services today. That's a $124 value for only $29 if you call Any Hour Services today. 801-443-7400. Google Any Hour Services or schedule online at anyhourservices.com.
For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger, Because we have professional grade supplies for every industry, even hard to find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
The smarter way to clean your floors. It's time to make the swap. Swiffer Power Mop.
Introducing the new Swiffer Power Mop, the all-in-one tool that gives you a mop and bucket clean in half the time. The solution's built right in, so no heavy bucket, and the pad has hundreds of scrubbing strips to get deep into grout. Don't mop harder, mop smarter.
Swiffer Power Mop. Swiffer Power Mop.
Jeff Kaplan here for my good friends at Advanced Window Products. Jake Weber and Nate Orchard are spreading the holiday cheer with their biggest sale of the year. If the wind whistles through your windows, if you want a fresh new look for your number one investment, your home, call Advanced Window Products and take advantage of this incredible end-of-year sale. Replace all of your windows and frames and you get $2,500 off. But that's not all. You get a free premium glass upgrade. Insulate your home against the cold with double pane windows and stylish frames, any style, any color, and they're built custom right here at their headquarters in Salt Lake City for 37 years. They build the windows, they install the windows, and they guarantee them for life. Plus an additional $2,500 off and a free premium glass upgrade. You can save now, pay later, so take advantage. Call now, Advanced Window Products, 801-850-9100, 801-850-9100, or visit advancedwindowsusa.com.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Alexandria Bonilla. First, the Salt Lake County Health Department says 2 children died over the past 30 days after where they will make up for the money lost. Third, road conditions are expected to be rough the next couple days. Officials advise to keep emergency equipment in all vehicles. Right now it is 27 degrees and cloudy. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Next Tuesday at this time, actually starting at 9 o'clock, actually starting at 5 o'clock with Tim and Amanda. KSL News Radio, we're taking the show on the road. We're moving it east about 3 or 4 blocks to Utah's Capitol Hill. We'll be there all day long, all shows, right up to Jeff Kaplan's afternoon news, because we are 1 week away from the start of the 2024 legislative session. We're going to break down a few key items with the help of Holly Richardson, who's covering the Hill for Utah Policy and writes as well for the Deseret News.
It's been an incredible transformation for me. When I was growing up in my younger years, when I thought about politics, I always thought about the President of the United States and federal positions. The older I get, the more I realize, what's happening in the state, what's happening in my community impacts me far more than what happens in the presidential election. So, Holly, thank you for joining us. Holly Richardson is a columnist with the Deseret News, also the editor of Utah Policy. So, all right, you wrote a great article in the Deseret News. That's what where we caught wind. You kind of broke it down. Okay, here's several stories that you're following. Yep. Let's start off with number 1, schools.
You bet.
Phone bans, chronic absenteeism, social media.
Yeah, so school education is always an issue on Capitol Hill, right? Funding is one of the conversations. Teacher retention is one of the conversations. But we've had a lot more conversation recently about technology in schools and what that looks like. So we know there's plenty of studies now that show that there's a loss of learning when people are on their cell phones all day, when you walk into a classroom and the kids are on their phones and not paying attention necessarily to the teacher. But the question then becomes, is the state legislature the right place to say we're going to ban phones in classrooms? Are they the ones, or do they turn that over to the school districts and say, make your best efforts to have cell phones not in classrooms? And one of the things I think that schools find is if you can have participation from students in creating whatever the policy is, that you can get a lot more buy-in, right? And you probably know that as a parent. If you can get buy-in from what the rules of the road are, so to speak, then you're going to have more luck, I think, sometimes than having the state legislature say, we're going to impose this ban on you. But certainly it's part of the discussion on the Hill.
Do you think there's an appetite? Because I think last year there wasn't quite the appetite. They kind of nibbled around the crust of the bread, but they didn't really get a ban in place.
You know, we talked to Speaker Schultz yesterday, and he does not indicate that there's a real appetite for a state legislative ban, but there is appetite for discussion and I think strong encouragement of school districts to start looking at that. Yeah.
Don't school districts already have the right to pass that policy? They just have chosen not to.
Well, they do, and each teacher can have that right as well to say in this classroom there's no phones. In fact, I have a fourth grader, and her teacher says no smart watches and no smartphones in my classroom. Here's the basket. So each teacher can do that already, but whether that's universally applied is the question.
We're speaking live right now with Holly Richardson. She's the editor of Utah Policy and also a columnist for the Deseret News. And she's covering the legislature. And the legislative session starts in 7 days from now. So moving from cell phone bans or chatter about that or not in classrooms, chronic absenteeism.
Yeah.
This has been an issue. We've spoken to school districts about it. Kids are just not showing up even after the pandemic. Not a lot of kids, some kids not coming back to class or not in class as often as they should be. Are they dealing with that on the Hill?
They are in conversation, but last year they passed a bill to address chronic absenteeism. It really was more of a carrot than a stick, saying, here are some ways we can encourage school districts, that school districts can encourage parents. But when I talked with Representative Candace Perucci, who's the House Education Committee chair, she said that although there's been conversation, there's no actual bill in the works that she knows of. But, we have 45 days plus a week.
And speaking of carrot and stick, we are actually seeing some states that are using more of the stick approach.
That's
I think
right.
it's in Missouri where they're starting to criminalize and punish the parents with fines and even threats of jail time.
Yeah, and I think, for me personally, I think that's problematic. I don't think Utah's going to go there next, but there has to be some kind of conversation about why are these kids not coming to school, right? Is it really a transportation issue? They don't live far enough away to take the bus, but you have a working single parent who can't manage the carpool. I don't know, right? But I think that's part of the conversation. First is the carrot, but
maybe there's
are
a data-driven answer out there where there needs to be a broader study at what the reasoning is and why this is happening.
It's interesting that it's nationwide, right?
Yeah.
It's not just Utah. Yeah,
great point.
And getting to the bottom of why and what can be done without sending parents to the clink.
That's right. That's right. And it's not just high schoolers. I mean, if I think about who's going to be sloughing school, I'm going to think a high schooler. But a lot of times it's even kindergartners where the parents don't get them enrolled in kindergarten. They don't feel like they need to start that early, whatever it is. But we know that early reading translates into higher graduation rates and less incarceration later on, those types of things.
Social media was something that they tackled last year. There's been lawsuits in the state. Is there any more movement, or are they going to wait for some of this to play out?
I think there's both. I think there's going to be some movement. We know that the governor's budget, what he is proposing, and it's the legislature that's going to have to approve it, but he's proposing $1 million to help fund the lawsuits. I think there will be some refining also of the policies, but I think that you will see more movement on that issue.
And not to get to the nitty-gritty, but funding the lawsuits, this isn't something the Attorney General's office would normally handle. It's already funded by state taxpayer resources. Would this be to hire an additional outside law firm, that $1 million? Do you know, Holly?
I do not know, actually, the answer to that question. I just know that when you're pushing back, when you're getting pushback from companies like Meta and TikTok, that those are big money dollars and big money attorneys.
And they may need to go to an outside firm in order to get that level of expertise. I think the state law, doesn't that take effect? It's coming up pretty soon this year where people have to make sure if they're a parent, their child is age verified before they can even have an account.
Yeah, and one of the first steps on the lawsuits that are already winding their way through is to put a stay on the actual implementation of the law, right? So the big companies are asking for a judge to say this law is not going to go into effect until it works through the court process. But so far, there's not a ruling on that.
But the state has been gearing up for this to go into effect.
Yeah, they have. Yeah.
right? I mean, it's all hands on deck, and
Yeah.
you hear the governor talking about it on the national,
Sure.
Media, to the national media. Oftentimes at news conferences, he'll bring it up as well. That it's on its way. It's going to happen, and I think everybody has to age verify, not just kids.
Yeah, and I think we've seen that in other arenas as well, where age verification is actually working. We know in Europe there are some adult sites that are using age verification that is actually working effectively. So it can happen.
I chuckle a little bit when we see, there's going to be an additional bill to add another $1 million. Like, as you pointed out, when we're talking about Alphabet or if we're talking about Meta, these are tens of billions, hundreds of billions of dollars worth of company, and we're throwing $1 million at it. It just feels like a little pea shooter going against, this ginormous fortress. It's Fort Knox against our pea shooter.
Well, you do have multiple states who are doing this also, right? And there's certainly a national conversation about the impact on mental health for our adolescents, at least, and even some of our younger kids. So I found interesting in the last week, an 18-year-old has actually sued one of the major social media companies, claiming that it pushed her into anorexia. And now she's an adult, and she, as an adult, is suing the company for harm caused.
Oh, that's fascinating. Yeah. Well, Holly, we look forward. We know you're going to be covering this, obviously, not only for Deseret News, but for Utah Policy. So if you don't mind, can we tap into your expertise a little bit more?
Please, anytime.
All right. Thanks, Holly Richardson.
Holly gets to sort through all of the hearings and the minutia that goes on in some of these hearings every single day.
Doing the Lord's
and then
work.
We just get to dial her up and say, okay, what's the best takeaways? Holly, you do such a fabulous job. Thank you so much. Appreciate you joining us today. Next, former President Donald Trump traveling to Washington, D.C. today for a hearing in the federal election interference case that was brought against him by special counsel Jack Smith. So his main argument is he's got presidential immunity here. Does he? We'll ask KSL legal analyst Greg Skordas next.
11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dale Spalding. KSL's top story this hour: St. George's population is increasing, but its water usage is decreasing. KSL News Radio's Alexandria Bonilla reports.
Washington County saw a 4.5% increase in the number of homes and businesses with water connections, but a 5% decrease in water usage. That's according to KSL.com. Representatives from the Washington County Water Conservancy District says a driving force is their water-efficient landscaping. It's the first county in the state to ban ornamental grass in commercial, institutional, and industrial developments. That includes grass lining homes, businesses, and sidewalks. The county also attributed it to a higher snowpack and precipitation levels last year. Alexandria Bonilla, KSL News Radio.
Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Former President Trump spent his morning at a hearing in Washington where his lawyer argued he could not be prosecuted. ABC's Catherine Falders reports.
After Trump's legal team gave arguments, and then it was time for the special counsel to speak, the legal team and Trump became much more active in the room. Trump was actively writing on a yellow legal pad. From my vantage point, it seemed like he was writing in his typical Sharpie, passing notes with his lawyers, presumably writing notes about what the special counsel was saying, until his lawyer, of course, then went up and gave that 5-minute rebuttal.
The former president spoke to reporters after the hearing, claiming he is innocent. Your money at this moment: the Dow is down 223 points and the NASDAQ up 6 points. Coming up, you can expect a rough commute tomorrow morning. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 1:31.
We hope you have the right app on your phone for news. You probably have dozens.
But the KSL News Radio app, well, it makes our live stream super easy.
Plus, our talk shows are right there as podcast for your workday.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
At Grainger, we're for the ones who specialize in saving the day and for the ones who've mastered the art of keeping business moving. We offer industrial-grade supplies for every industry with same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders, all backed by real people ready to help. So you can get the right answers and products right when you need them. Call quickgrainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're for the ones who specialize in saving the day and for the ones who've mastered the art of keeping business moving. We offer industrial-grade supplies for every industry, with same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders, all backed by real people ready to help. So you can get the right answers and products right when you need them. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
If you're on the journey of building your dream home, remodeling, or just want to brighten up some rooms, let the Blind Man be your tour guide into the possibilities 2024 has to offer. Window coverings balance functionality and aesthetics by managing light and privacy effortlessly. Whether you seek a captivating design element, enhanced privacy, light-blocking solutions, or an infusion of natural light, the Blind Man's consultants are here to navigate you through the latest trends, tailoring them to complement your unique style. Motorized and automated roller shades have emerged as the preferred choice in 2024. This is driven by features such as the convenience they provide for hard-to-reach windows, providing safety for both children and pets, and contributing to energy efficiency. The Blind Man's experts would love to help you explore the options along your journey. Visit theblindman.com today to set up a free in-home consultation. Theblindman.com.
From Ogden to St. George, Utah's premier window covering provider, The Blind Man.
Introducing Yes, heating, air conditioning, plumbing, and electric. We're bringing all of Utah's favorite HVAC, plumbing, and electrical brands under one roof. Maximize your energy savings with a new energy-efficient heating and cooling system from Yes, and you could save up to $4,500 through possible tax credits and other discounts. Purchase a new system today, and Yes will buy back your old inefficient HVAC system. Visit theyesmancan.com to schedule your appointment. Call now or visit theyesmancan.com for details, terms, and conditions.
Healthcare with human kindness is here. It's at Common Spirit Health. Hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advance healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Together, we have a common purpose, partnering with you in health and healing using powerful medicine, powerful technology, and the greatest power of all, human kindness. You'll know it when you see it, because human kindness is in every care site and in every caregiver. Common Spirit Health. Hello, human kindness.
Visit the contest page on KSLNewsRadio.com.
This week, win $250 cash. That's right. We're giving you a chance at New Year's cash just for subscribing to our text database. Or win tickets to the Utah International Auto Expo, January 12th through the 15th at Mountain America Expo Center. See the newest cars, trucks, and EVs all in a non-selling environment. What are you waiting for?
Text the word contest to 57500 or go to KSLNewsRadio.com/contests.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair. Save up to 20 cents with Dino Pay.
This is Michelle Rowe. Well, we do have some winter conditions. This is up in Sardine Canyon. You're going to want to allow a little extra time to go through there, but the I-15 corridor is still running at posted speeds. Don't miss the amazing Utah Auto Expo, January 12th through 15th at the Mountain America Exposition Center. See the newest cars, trucks, electric vehicles, all in a non-selling environment. AutoExpoUtah.com. I'm Michelle Rowe in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather. A winter weather advisory is in place until Thursday. The northern Wasatch Front can expect up to 7 inches of snow and up to 11 inches on the benches. Right now, we're looking at temperatures at, 28 degrees in Salt Lake and cloudy with our winter weather alert. I'm Dale Spalding from KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
There are a lot of cases that have been brought against former President Donald Trump. For the next few minutes, we're going to talk about this one specific case that has to do with election interference. The charges brought by special counsel Jack Smith, former president, traveling to Washington, D.C. today for a hearing where he's arguing he's got immunity. He was the president.
When they talk about threat to democracy, that's your real threat to democracy. And I feel that as a president, you have to have immunity. Very simple. And if you don't, as an example, if this case were lost on immunity and I did nothing wrong, absolutely nothing wrong, I'm working for the country. And I worked on very hard on voter fraud, because we have to have free elections. We have to have strong borders. We have to have free elections. Those two things.
His lawyers have also argued that this is double jeopardy, since he's already been impeached and acquitted by Congress for his actions on January 6th.
Let's ask Greg Skordas, KSL legal analyst here at Broadcast House. Often hear him at KSL at night. So let's start with the immunity argument with this election interference case. And this is the case that goes back to when he was at the podium that day on January 6th when they were getting ready to certify the elections, right? And then this crowd of people, ends up, going down, marching down to the Capitol. Am I getting my cases right there, Greg?
You're exactly right. It happened on January 6th of 2021, just 2 months after the 2020 election when he was defeated. But he was still president at the time, and because President Biden hadn't been sworn in yet, that occurred a few weeks later. So his defense is that when he was speaking to what ended up being the mob, I'll just call them, before January 6th or on January 6th, that he was speaking in his role as a president, and that as president, he's immune from criminal prosecution for acts that occurred while he was in office. So that's the central argument, is that he has immunity. In other words, he can't be prosecuted because at the time this occurred, he was president of the United States, and he gets immunity. Now, certainly we understand that governmental officials have what we call governmental immunity. I mean, police officers have to act. They have to use force once in a while, and sometimes that's deadly force, but they have immunity in part because they're serving the government. They're doing what they need to do. And President Trump is saying, look, I was in public office. I was making decisions as the president. Therefore, the result of those decisions, while you may not have liked them, I have immunity for.
Yeah, the presidential immunity, I think, is where I'm a little confused of, like, how broad is that definition? And I think you've done a good job of explaining an element of it, but is there more to this? Like, how sweeping and how often does a president tap into this? And if what's their working life like? Do they kind of assume that they can bring up any topic they want and say whatever they want?
Well, and that's exactly what the judges were pointing at. I mean, they talked about a very example where the president orders the Navy SEALs to go and assassinate a political opponent or a terrorist or something. Well, is the president immune from liability for what could be a murder? And I think that we would look at that and say, well, yeah, I mean, he acted accordingly with what he knew at the time, and directed his military to do something, so he probably would have immunity. This case is a little different because he was president, but it wasn't really a presidential action. It wasn't really a presidential something you would expect the president to be able to do. I mean, you have to act in the course of your office. You have to act in accordance with what your office is doing, and inciting people to go and march on the Capitol probably isn't one of the presidential duties, if that makes any sense.
What about this other argument of double jeopardy? I don't really know that it would apply here. He hasn't been really tried on anything else. I mean, there's the case in New York that has to do with his businesses, but what are your thoughts on this double jeopardy?
I think there's absolutely no merit to that argument. I mean, the fact that Congress acquitted him, and really they just didn't reach their two-thirds majority, doesn't mean that it didn't occur, because they're trying to impeach him from office. That's a different question. Should he be removed from office? Not did he commit a crime. So I don't think there's any traction that an argument for double jeopardy is going to prevail with this court. The argument is going to be focused solely on presidential immunity and acts that occur while the president is in office that are consistent with his duties as president. So I don't think double jeopardy is going to get anywhere with this case.
The judge's ruling, I guess, kind of relies on their understanding or reading of the U.S. Constitution, maybe the impeachment clause. What are the judges trying to balance right now? Because I think you used a very good example, or they used a very good example of, SEAL Team 6, go take out my political rival. But the president does do that. And this president specifically did that, when he assassinated Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, a leader of
Right.
ISIS. So, it's not quite as cut and dried as I think maybe the judges were trying to paint it.
Right, and that's why this case is where it is, Dave, because it's kind of a case of first impression. We really don't have incidents like this happening. I mean, we talk about precedents, and there really isn't any for something like this. We also have to give our elected officials tremendous leeway and in the form of immunity in making governmental decisions that affect the government and are in the best interest of the government. And the question is really going to come down to whether or not that's what was happening here, directing that group to march on the Capitol. If he truly believed he was saving democracy and saving an election that he thought was illegally taken from him, maybe he does have some level of immunity. But if he did it strictly to do something to keep himself in office when he knew or should have known that the election was fair and that what happened was appropriate, then maybe he was acting outside the scope of his presidency and he would not enjoy the shroud of immunity.
Greg Skordas, thank you for joining us, KSL legal analyst, and we will continue to follow this, Debbie, as this ruling, as the judges, the district court judges, seem like they're going to be making a ruling on this fairly soon.
Does it seem that way from the article you're reading? Good.
Yeah, I'm looking through the Washington Post. I guess soon is all relative, right?
Right, but I think that that's important. You can't just take it under advisement for a year, right? They got to get us a decision. We're going to return to our top story, the pending snow squalls. Moving in this afternoon, Kevin Eubank, KSM meteorologist, joining us in just a few moments. I wasn't quite sure what a snow squall is or what it looks like. Here's a preview of what Kevin is going to talk about, and he'll tell us when and where they're going to hit.
Most dangerous winter weather conditions, the snow squalls. Snow squalls are brief but intense periods of snow. Snow squalls bring a quick reduction in visibility in whiteout conditions because usually these come with very gusty winds.
Dave and Dujanovic.
A lot of us are filling our workdays with podcasts.
When you're working, go to kslnewsradio.com.
Click on Dave and Debbie's podcast and pick a topic and story length.
Podcast with Dave and Debbie. Then get to work with KSL News Radio.
I know it's Tuesday, but give me 60 seconds and I'll explain how spending $29 guarantees your furnace won't break down this winter, or we'll give you your money back. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and when you have Any Hour do the annual maintenance on your furnace, it comes with our no breakdown guarantee, 801-443-7400. Normally, we charge $124 to tune up your furnace, but not today. If you call today, Tuesday, January 9th, and mention you heard this ad, you'll lock in a $95 savings and get your furnace tuned up for only $29. 801-443-7400. If your furnace breaks down anytime this winter after we tune it up, we'll dispatch a technician to your home to diagnose and troubleshoot your system for free. And we'll give you back the $29 you paid for the tune-up. Where else are you going to find an offer with this little risk? You literally get your money back if your furnace breaks down. Call Any Hour Services today and schedule your $29 furnace tune-up. 801-443-7400. Google Any Hour Services or schedule online at anyhourservices.com.
It seems like everywhere you look right now, someone is sick. This year, prepare your family for airborne invaders like bacteria, pollen, and yes, germs with Navage Nasal Care. Navage flushes ultra-pure, refreshing saline in one nostril, around the back of the nose, and out of the other nostril. Navage sucks out viruses, dust, and other airborne particles, all the stuff that gets trapped in your nose making you miserable. Don't get caught empty-handed this winter. Get Navage, the drug-free solution that helps you breathe easier, sleep better, and feel healthier. Even better, Navage is HSA, FSA eligible, so Navage is a great way to spend those funds before they expire. Don't wait a minute longer. Buy Navage today and you'll breathe easier knowing you're putting your funds to good use. Navage is available online at Navage.com or Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, and Rite Aid. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E. Clean nose, healthy life.
The new year is here, and it's time to take advantage of Zero Res's best deal of the year. Carpets, tile, rugs, upholstery, basically every surface in your home can be zero-resified. Don't DIY it. Call Zero-Res because you know it's safe and effective. Have you even Googled the company? They have a 4.8 rating on Google with over 3,300 reviews. The Zero-Res Gotta Love It guarantee makes it easy to get what you pay for. Yeah, Zero-Res absolutely stands behind every cleaning. Go ahead and get clean, but don't miss the best deal of the year. Get back to clean and get carpet cleaning for just $25 per room with promo code 25RM and 24% off upholstery cleaning with code SOFA24. Call Zero-Res right now, 801-288-9376, or go online at zerores.com/Salt Lake and say you want the station special. Zero-Res. Spell it backward or forwards. It spells the same.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. One of Salt Lake City's newest areas is the Maven District, a curated block of locally owned businesses working to create a community of walkable shops, eateries, and offices that believe in diverse communities, self-growth, and dreaming big. Founder Tessa Arneson joins us with more.
Maven District is the proud home of Salt Lake City's largest community of women-owned small businesses. With more than 100 locally owned shops, services, and startups, our collective of buildings is located in the heart of downtown on the corner of 900 South and 200 East. This includes our own two businesses, Maven Strong, a boutique Pilates studio, and Maven Create, a co-working and event space. In addition to commercial properties and private offices, we also offer luxurious but affordable residential apartments and townhomes. Overall, our goal is to build a dynamic city for our future, so we approach real estate development and property management much differently. While others are focused on the bottom line, we're focused on changing the landscape of SLC for the better by giving back to our community and ensuring our tenants alongside the surrounding neighbors all thrive together. Learn more about us and come visit us at mavendistrict.com.
From townhomes to co-working spaces to ice cream and jewelry shops, you never know what you might find in Salt Lake City's new neighborhood, the Maven District. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dale Spalding. First, we're just hours away from another round of snow, and it's expected to make the commute home a rough one. Second, avalanche danger is expected to reach dangerously high levels in the mountains of northern and central Utah this week. Third, for the first time, parents of adopted children in Utah will be eligible for a $3,500 tax credit. Right now, it's 28 and cloudy in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
So I've got my eye right now, Dave, on the KSL weather app. Big, bold letters, winter weather advisory. From 2 o'clock this afternoon until 5 a.m. January 11th? Am I reading that right? January 11th, which is Thursday morning at 5 a.m.
That's a chunk. I mean, we've got to pay attention, right? We knew this was coming. Several storms are coming in, and some a little more intense than others. But, yeah, I learned a new term today. I had never heard of snow squall.
Yep, snow squalls will be possible, bringing strong winds and flash freezing conditions. Kevin Eubank, KSL meteorologist, welcome back to the show. Thanks for keeping us alert. What do you know about these snow squalls and, when we should be on the roads and when we shouldn't be off on the roads?
Sure. So snow squalls is a term that the National Weather Service started implementing back in 2021. And what it means is it's for storms that come in very quickly with a lot of snow, a lot of wind, reduced visibility, and significant impacts. So because this storm is coming in at the commute time and it has the ability to have intensity that would reduce visibility and a lot of snow coming down, when you and I were kids, we just called it a big snowstorm. But they got to have fancy words to try to get people to pay attention. So snow squall is the word they use, and that's what that watch is all about.
The only time I'd heard the term squall before was I think it was a movie back in the 90s or something, and it was talking about a white squall, a true story. It had sunk a ship or something along those lines. So when I hear squall, I'd always thought of something just massively huge. But you're like, It's just a big snowstorm.
It's a big snowstorm that has a big impact, and it creates a lot of issues. And again, we're always trying to find ways to communicate to the public and the people and our viewers and listeners what's coming and how it's going to impact them. And it just seems like as of late, we use a lot of funny words to do that, whether it's polar vortex or crazy words like squalls to get your attention. The truth is, it's going to snow tonight. And if you're on the road, there's a chance it's going to be very intense, and there's going to be some very difficult travel. And so that's the message we're trying to communicate to everybody.
So I want to give people specifics so they know when to stay off the roads. Kev, talk about when does the snowstorm start? When is the heavy, snow going to start falling? And then what does it look like for this evening's commute and tomorrow's commute?
Sure. So this is a northern storm. It's coming in this evening. So the earlier you could sneak out of work and get off the roads this afternoon, the better. It is a north to south progressing storm. So it's going to be most intense farthest north first, and then it just kind of works its way down. So comes out of over the lake and then hits Weber County, Davis County, Salt Lake County, Utah County, and progresses through. We're already seeing snowfall in our mountains this afternoon in northern Utah, and we anticipate getting snow here in the valleys between about 3 to 4 p.m. to start to see some of that light snow. The heaviest snow does look to come in between 5 and 7 p.m. tonight. So that's when that tail end of that evening commute, that's why that squall that warning has been issued. And so what we'll deal with is then the heaviest snowfall actually occurs overnight. And then we'll taper off about 4 to 5 a.m. And so this is really an evening commute issue with the most accumulation happening after dark tonight. Then it lets up for tomorrow morning. So tomorrow morning's commute is okay. But then another storm comes in tomorrow midday and does something pretty similar for tomorrow evening's commute. So the next 2 days, it's going to be kind of a 1-2 punch for the evening commutes, while the morning commutes should be relatively spared.
I know as we've been talking to you, you've just mentioned how many different storm cells are coming through and passing through. Do you anticipate this being the most intense of the cluster?
No, this is just one of they're really the intensity. Every time you get a front that comes through, that really intensifies some of the snow. And Dave, there's 5 of those coming. And so, no, I don't think this is the most intense out of them. I just think it's one of the series. Each one of these storms is going to deliver 1 to 3 in the valleys, 3 to 6 on the benches, and 6 to 12 in the mountains. And so the potential, if you take the low and high end of that, is Salt Lake City ends up with 8 to 18 inches of snow over the next 5 days. The benches end up with 1 to 2 feet, and the mountains end up with 4 to 5, maybe even 6 feet in the cottonwoods. So it's just each storm, while not huge in and of themselves, they're each significant. And when you add them all up, the totals are going to be very impressive.
For the skiers, maybe on the slopes up the canyons, big or little, or maybe in other areas, Kevin, any wind warnings they need to be aware of for today?
Yeah, the winds will be going, and especially tonight. And the bigger issues is not necessarily it's cold. I mean, it's so darn cold out there now, and you're adding the wind. All of that is going to combine to a couple things. Getting to the canyons, getting to the resorts is going to be an exercise in patience and difficulty, just because there's going to be a lot of road maintenance and potentially avalanche mitigation. So once you get there, you got to stay in bounds. The temptation is to get out of bounds or to go out on your own. And right now the avalanche danger is considerable, and it will only elevate over the next 3 to 5 days. So you've got to know your terrain, and then you've got to dial back that desire to get out and enjoy that powder, because it's been such a long stretch without it. You just got to be smart. So please, if you're headed to the resorts, make sure you understand road conditions and restrictions. And make sure you're in a proper vehicle to get where you need to go, and prepared if you get stuck and can't get where you need to go. But yeah, Debbie, winds are going to be an issue up in the mountains. That's going to put some wind load, cornice, and other things that are going to cause some avalanche issues for sure.
Kevin Eubank, thank you for the update. I'm going to walk away repeating this over and over in my head. The earlier you can sneak out of work, the better. I'm going to just say that over and over. That just make sure everyone in my vicinity understands that. I'm just following Kevin's advice.
Yeah, make sure that you tell him Mark Eubank told you to do that. Does that sound good?
You know what Kevin's pop used to say.
Yeah. Kevin, you better get that white snow coat dry cleaned over the next couple of days. You're going to need it a lot. It sounds like we're in this for the long haul, at least for this the remainder of this week. Thanks, Kev. Stay safe out there on the roads. And I agree with you. If you can get out of work early today, or if you can get home before this starts to hit, you're going to be a lot better off. You know, I'm hoping this is what happens. But I remember when I worked for the FBI many years ago, we had a big snowstorm, kind of like what Kevin was just talking about coming in. and the bosses all sent us home like at noon, and then it never happened. It was like we got
so close.
It just never happened. Now, Kevin is usually spot on, and I know the technology is so much better than it was 10 or 12 years ago, but it just never happened. So I'd just say, if you can do it, leave early, get home.
One of the things we've learned, as we were talking to the KSL meteorologist, we talked to Matt Johnson earlier in the show, and he said visibility could be reduced down to 1/10 of a mile, which is about a football field and a half. And if you're on the freeway and you're traveling at 50, 60, 70 miles an hour, you'll cover 150 yards, in the blink of an eye in just, a matter of seconds. So I think it's very, very important to understand when we're talking about the squall, when we're talking about visibility, that it's just of utmost importance to understand, okay, how far can I really see, and adjust your speed accordingly.
Yeah, I would just, I don't know what you do if you're stuck in it. I would, if you can even pull off the freeway.
And that's not always the safest
I get it.
move. So
yeah, I
drive the right speed
yeah,
for the conditions.
For sure. And then, plan ahead for your morning commute tomorrow, because this is, tomorrow it's supposed to be, we're going to get a little bit of a break in our morning commute. But if this thing is going until 5 a.m. and the temperatures are what they are, we're not sure yet what the roads are going to look like. Of course, the crews will be out there doing whatever they can to keep them clear and cleaned off. But these kind of temperatures are not, kind to road conditions whatsoever.
Maria Chaleos is going to have team coverage, so more information on the brewing snowstorm that is coming up. So make sure you stay safe. And again, as Kevin Eubank tried to blame his dad, Mark Eubank, but as he said, make sure, the earlier you can sneak out of work, the better, the safer. We'll turn things over to Maria Chaleos and the KSL News team.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News